Hey guys and welcome back to my channel. This is part 1 of what if Naruto had venom sealed inside him. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description. It had happened so quickly for the young demon vessel, as Naruto thought he might have been in a dream turned a surrealistic nightmare, and for the most part he wished he had. The sudden blast of wind had sent him tree after tree, and it was something that Naruto could only describe as being painful with anyone that he told having to take his word for it. The last thing Naruto hit was a moss-covered rock that strangely enough didn't feel like a rock when he hit it before shattering the object of nature to hit the ground of nature itself. Naruto had a feeling that if the Kyuubi sealed inside of him wasn't there, he would have been dead from this event several times over, and if that wasn't the case it would mean he would be in the hospital for months on end. Well, it could be a lot worse. It could be the villagers trying to attack me on my birthday again, thought Naruto, lying on his back while trying to get up from the ground slowly, as he found his body trying to protest this action, and decided to let his body rest there for a brief moment. What harm could it do? As Naruto closed his eyes, a black liquid goop came out of the rock that was not a rock, but a metallic chamber that held the thing in suspended animation, and had been freed upon the boy's impact with its prison. The black liquid, however, needed a vessel to live in soon, or else its newfound freedom would not last long. Seeing the boy lying on the ground unconscious, but alive nonetheless, the black goop moved towards the boy, and entered Naruto via the seal that was currently invisible on his stomach. Naruto's mindscape. Well, what do we have here? Something that does not belong here, like myself, has decided to make its presence known to me, said Kyuubi, as it had been quite a while since the fox had seen a creature like the black creature now in the cage with him, making a crude manifestation of a humanoid form. Just when this boy couldn't get any more intriguing, I find he is the vessel of another entity with an incredible source of energy, and I find my curiosity growing, said the black humanoid creature before looking over at the sleeping form of Naruto. Yes, I was sealed inside this boy the day he was born by his own father and was meant to be seen as a hero. Unfortunately, human arrogance, and their hate for the things they fear caused the exact opposite for him. I can't tell you how many times that my vessel has had a close call with these foolish humans. They have stunted his growth so much in learning the ways of the shinobi, making sure he had malnourishment, and the fact that the old fool of a Hokage being too spineless to protect the boy from those fools that share a seat of power with him, said Kyuubi, as he had been awake in the boy since the ink first dried on the stomach of the child, and had heard the arguments from the arrogant humans that wished to end Naruto's life. And he has survived long enough to have some measure of ability to fight back using what knowledge he has in his mind. Impressive, all things considered, though I sense all the knowledge he has learned is sealed away in his mind, which was helped along by all the abuse this village has put him through, as well as the betrayal he feels from his own teammates not acknowledging him in the slightest, and being ignored all this time by them. This part of him will not do. I need to fix this before things become a real problem for me now that he is my vessel. If you help me, I will see to it that the boy becomes a strong vessel worthy of being yours, and make him a being of unmatched power, said the black goo, as he sensed the boy's mind was only working at a limited capacity from the hits Naruto took to the skull, and the mental stunting the village did to him. Agreed. Too long has my vessel been too weak to fight back against the stronger foes of the world, and if I am to survive then my vessel will need the strength to repel them. Tell me your name, said Kyuubi, as he was intrigued by this creature before him, and wanted to know more. We have no true name, Great Fox, but the one given to us by our previous host will do, and it is a name that will bring fear to those that would become our vessel's enemy. Call me Venom, said Venom, bowing to the fox before making his way to the seal, only to be repelled by the cage, and causing the symbiotic entity to howl in pain. It seems the seal of the Shinigami refuses to let you pass through since you entered through it to get here. In order for you to be able to cross over, the seal needs to be altered in some way that it cuts off the means of repelling you, and to make matters worse that would also have to be done from the outside, said Kyuubi, since the seal was the same in keeping his powers back for the most part and had to wait for Naruto to call upon his power. Then I will wait. If what you say is true, then there is certainly someone out there that can do it, and if my instincts are right, someone will do it, said Venom, as the creature had been known to be correct from time to time. I think you're right. The kit's not here anymore, said Kyuubi, seeing past the cage and saw that Naruto wasn't there anymore, but trying to catch up with his team, and find out what happened to them. Outside world. Naruto shook his head at the strange feelings that were running up and down his body at the moment after waking up, while swearing to himself that he thought he heard voices. Right now, he was racing to his friends, as he sensed a chakra spike in the direction that he was currently heading, and Naruto knew that when something like that happened, it wasn't good. He arrived just in time to stop Sasuke from handing over their scroll to that grass nin, who seemed to be much stronger than a genin should be, and punched the Uchiha right in the face. Some arguing and some fighting with the grass nin soon after. Naruto had called upon the Kyuubi's chakra to help him fight the snake that was summoned by the grass nin to get Sasuke, and protect a scared, Uchiha prodigy, from being killed. "What power you have inside of you, little boy, as I thought you were the one that held it inside of you with those eyes of yours, and the rage behind them from your childhood speaking volumes to me. However, this power you wield is not something I need to have around me at the moment, so please forgive me when I say I have to remove you, and the power you that's standing in my way of what I want," said the grass nin, holding Naruto near him before hitting the demon vessel with the 5-pronged seal and threw him into the nearest tree. "After being knocked out like that, Naruto won't survive the fall, and will die," thought Sakura, as she threw a kunai at Naruto, and caught him on the tree he hit before his top of his orange jumpsuit tore, causing him to fall into the darkness below. "Oh dear, your intentions were noble, little girl, but sadly while your aim was good, the actual plan itself was folly, and now your teammate is dead," said the grass nin, as he saw Naruto fall, and then turned his attention to a frightened Uchiha Sasuke. With Naruto had fallen into unwillingly forced unconsciousness at the hands of that creepy grass nin and had hit several trees before breaking through them during his fall. While this happened, Venom had found that due to the grass nin's unexpected attack on the Shinigami's seal, he was able to move freely from the cage that held Kyuubi, and began to take action to prevent their shared vessel's death. "I need time to make alterations to my vessel, so a little change in the boy's position is required, and maybe some privacy for this transformation to happen," thought Venom, as he covered Naruto's hands with his presence, and shot a web line with the borrowed right hand to a tree to stop the fall. Venom succeeded with ease. Before using the other hand, he created web-like cocoon around the boy, and began to go to work on Naruto's body along with his mind since it needed some maintenance at the moment. It was understandable from what Venom could see, as the seal on the boy's neck had absorbed all of the information Naruto was supposed to know, and keeping it there like a vault that held it all. This thing was put here about 2 years before the boy would enter the academy, but by whom exactly I do not know, and from the looks of things was done rather crudely, said Kyuubi, who found that just because he was cut off from his vessel, didn't mean he was cut off from Venom, and vice versa. "Yeah, it's a treasure trove of knowledge that if unlocked would give our vessel the means to surpass all others. While its design does seem second-rate, it is effective in its use, but I think I can destroy it, and without any negative side effects from doing it," said Venom, seeing the seal in the boy's mind and found certain weak spots in the seal that black organic life form was itching to exploit. "You need to be careful, as my healing powers cannot help you, and even more now that I'm cut off from the boy thanks to that grass nin that smelled of snakes," said Kyuubi, as he had no means now to repair the mental damage that could be inflicted by this move, and hoped that Venom knew what he was doing. "Right," said Venom, as he used his tentacle-like arms to worm his way into the many cracks of the seal, making them bigger and wider until the wall collapsed under Venom's handiwork. Instantly, the information that had once been denied to Naruto all those years during the academy, was now spreading throughout his brain, and helping the boy get stronger at an incredible rate. While Venom looked over his handiwork inside Naruto's head, he then turned his attention to Naruto's body, and let out a heavy sigh knowing this would take a whole lot longer. It wasn't like Naruto's team was in any danger. It had the Uchiha prodigy, after all, so it was only natural that the boy fend off the grass nin, proclaim his dominance for now, and do his whole lone wolf thing in heading to the tower. Venom knew how much the Uchiha disliked Naruto from his vessel's memories, as well as the Haruno girl's constant belittling of him for trying to get better than the Uchiha, and hitting him in the process. Something that Venom believed the girl's mother encouraged and would continue to do if it meant hurting the Kyuubi brat continuously. And it was something that Venom was going to change once he was done making all of the necessary changes to Naruto. With Team 7 sometime later, Sakura wiped the sweat from Sasuke's forehead with the white cloth she had on hand that was from her first aid med kit she had taken with her for this event. She looked at the so-called last Uchiha with worry, as her not-so-secret crush moaned in pain, and wondered what the strange pale man did to her Sasuke-kun. Sakura had also set up some traps, as she had learned at the academy, to help prepare for any enemies that came their way, and hoped that her various defenses would hold long enough for Sasuke to recover. All Sakura could do was play the waiting game, as there was nothing else she could do, and made a mental note to seek out advice in terms of learning more than what she already knew. "When do we move to strike? I want to knock that arrogant Uchiha around before we gut him like a fish," said Zaku, as he was itching for some blood at the moment, and at the moment was hungering for Uchiha blood. "Soon," The pink-haired one is still very much awake and it would be easier to wait a little longer when she falls asleep to take them both out, said Dosu, as he knew that while the plan was gore-free, it was nonetheless effective and would complete the mission given to them by Orochimaru. Something is wrong with this scenario. There should be a third person with them. Are you sure their other teammate died? Said Kin, as she was having some concerns about this mission, and wanted to make sure no unwanted surprises happened. Orochimaru said it himself that the boy fell to his doom and will not be here at all, so quit your bitching so we can do this right. Said Zaku, as he was in no mood for Kin's worries, and second-guessing of plans so late in the game. Says you bedwetter, thought Kin, as she knew that boy had problems when it came to sleeping, and if it wasn't for the fact that the boy beside her would kill her if she told, she would have blurted it out sooner. Quiet, our targets, bodyguard, is dozing off now. We strike in the next 30 minutes to make sure it's not a ruse, said Dosu, as there had been situations that they were taught where the enemy would appear to be sleeping, and actually weren't. Got it, said Zaku, as he was looking to satisfy his bloodlust, and if the pink-haired girl was still alive, he would satisfy something else before removing the Uchiha's teammate from the equation permanently. With Naruto 35 minutes later. The web-like cocoon around Naruto began to move slowly at first, but after the first tiny hint of what could be called a twitch of movement soon became a jerking motion, and the web-like material that saved the Uzumaki from falling to an imminent death had been ripped to pieces. Now in the place of Uzumaki Naruto, was a taller, more muscled figure covered in a dark bluish-black with a large white spider symbol on his chest, and once more on his back. As the figure began to fall from the shreds of the torn webbing, as he was now a prisoner of gravity, the entity raised his right hand-turned fist, and shot the same type of webbing made of the cocoon to a nearby before using it to swing through the trees. Venom was currently in control. The mind of Uzumaki Naruto was still unconscious, but Venom was not, and seeing as how the body needed to be tested, it seemed appropriate until the boy awakened. By that point, Venom would begin telling the boy everything that happened, and hope the boy didn't freak out from it. Sensing danger not far from his swinging, Venom directed his newfound shared body to that location, and upon perching himself on a nearby tree was able to see the source of all it. Crawling along the tree's branch to the middle of the tree trunk, Venom saw a fight currently going down with Naruto's team fighting off the Sound Team with the help of Team 9's Rock Lee, Team 10 that was the Ino Shikacho, and the appearance of Team 9 above on a tree branch looking down. The Scooby Gang is almost all here. Shame Team 8 couldn't be around to see this, as that Hyuga girl would love to see her crush in action, and probably get a nosebleed, thought Venom, as he had seen Naruto's memories of the girl, and knew that Hinata had a mean crush on the boy. You are surrounded. Give up now or else, said Hyuga Neji, as he flared his Byakugan at the Sound Team, and saw all the various chakra signatures around him. It was then that one Uchiha Sasuke decided to make his appearance known, as he came out with purple corrupted chakra field around him, and strange marks all over his body. He looked from Sakura to those around him, as if contemplating something within his mind, and looked at the Sound Team with his Sharingan eyes activated. Someone should have told me there was a party here, as I seem to miss my invitation, and an Uchiha hates to be left out of anything important, said Sasuke, as he continued to stare at the Sound Team, and ignore everyone's shocked faces. So Orochimaru-sama gave you the curse seal. This was not expected when he gave us the assignment of killing you, said Dosu, as he now saw the power behind the Uchiha's curse seal, and wondered if they had a chance in ever killing Sasuke. Yes, he did. He gave me incredible power and I intend to use it to get what I want, said Sasuke before he was behind Zaku and rammed a fist hard into the Genin's spinal cord. That was fast, thought everyone, except Venom, since the boy's movements were not beyond his eyes, and kept watch since things were getting pretty interesting. Those arms create air-like blasts that creates a devastating force against anything it hits, said Sasuke, as he began to twist Zaku's arms out of place, and everyone was stunned in the process by this action. Sasuke would have succeeded in his mission, had he not been jerked right off his feet, and into a thick tree trunk, knocking the Uchiha unconscious. Humans are such violent and stupid creatures. Don't you think so, little flies from Sound? Said Venom, as he made his appearance, and was hanging upside down with a web line allowing him to descend about midway between the tree branch and the ground. Who the hell are you? Said Dosu, as he looked at the strange thing all covered in black with the spider symbol on his chest, and wondered just what was inside this forest of death that Konoha didn't want anyone to know. How did he get here without me seeing him with my Byakugan? And why can't I pierce his skin to see his chakra network? Thought Neji, as he tried, and failed in trying to see the figure's chakra network. Our name is not important, as we have no reason to give it to one such as you, and will not considering you will report us to your master if we let you live, said Venom, as he looked at Dosu's narrowing eye, and sensed the man was going to try something with his arm bracers. We'll see how important you are when I destroy your internal organs with my sound bracers, said Dosu, as he braced his legs to jump, but before he could, Venom acted faster, and shot a web line at Dosu's bracers that covered the devices completely before getting sent into a tree like Sasuke had been, only face first snapping his neck in the process killing him. Do you really think we would give you a chance? This isn't a game of tag oh ever so little fly. This isn't game of anything, except that of survival, and right now such an extensive game such as this has turned against you along with the rest of your team, said Venom, seeing Zaku glaring angrily at him while Kin seemed almost glad to have this sudden intervention. You think you can take us, freak? We were handpicked by Orochimaru himself to enter this exam, and we are not going to let some monster like you prevent us from completing our mission, said Zaku, as he prepared to fire his arms at Venom, who did nothing in terms of moving from his upside-down position and waited for Zaku to fire. The result was Zaku's arms exploding completely off from the elbows down. If you had been paying more attention to your hands, you would notice that there was a strong web covering the holes needed to send your attack out, and when you tried to fire, well, we think the condition of your arms says everything, said Venom before he let out a chuckle at seeing Zaku fall to his knees while staring at the space where his arms would be, while his mind seemed to be trying to process what had happened. Keyword would be trying. My arms, look what you did to my arms, said Zaku before he let out a scream of pain, as the realization set in, and soon his mind shut down to escape the reality of his body being in pain. And then there was one, said Venom, seeing the frightened girl that was Kin now trying to make a run for it, but she found herself strung up by her ankles by one of Venom's web lines, and soon found herself hanging upside down a few feet away from the spider symbol-wearing figure. Please don't hurt me. I was against this idea the whole way, but if I said anything, then Orochimaru would kill me, or worse, use me for one of his sick experiments, said Kin, which was true, as many had voiced their reluctance to partake in a few missions, and each had either died or wished they had at the hands of Orochimaru. We imagine you were little female fly, so we are not going to disfigure you like we did your two teammates, as we have a better idea in mind, and while we would like nothing more than to discuss it here, well, there are too many ears along with eyes aimed in our direction, said Venom, as he knew that the best way to deal with this was to get this girl to the Hokage, and make sure she spilled her guts to him about what this Orochimaru had planned. Can you protect me? Do you work for the Hokage? Said Kin, as she was shaking quite a bit, and it was sending vibrations throughout the web he was hanging her from. Her second question got everyone's attention. We do work for the Hokage and will be more than happy to take you to him. However, you must be taken someplace safe that will allow you to speak with him privately, and we know of such a place, said Venom, as he was feeling the tug of Naruto's conscious mind trying to awaken, and was trying to keep it down for as long as possible. I'll do anything you ask. Just please protect me from Orochimaru. He's a monster, said Kin, as she was now practically in tears at this point, and Venom sensed her fears for the Sannin. Then we shall take our leave from here with you in hand, said Venom, flipping the girl right side up along with himself and wrapped a muscled arm around Kin's waist, making the girl blush a healthy shade of red. Hey, wait, could you help find our teammate? Said Sakura, as she hoped the strange figure would help find Naruto, and hopefully get him back to them in one piece. Why do you care, Haruno? You abandoned the boy for the Uchiha after he fell into the shadows fighting Orochimaru, said Venom, getting shocked looks from Team 10 and Team 9 at that news, since they were always told to never abandon their teammates. How did he know that? It's not like I wanted to, but Sasuke-kun is from a noble clan, and if I spent any more time lingering around where I was while looking for that baka, I could have lost Sasuke-kun, thought Sakura, as she saw the angry and disappointed looks in the eyes of the others. Uzumaki Naruto does live, as we have made sure of that, but the next time that you do see him, he will not be the same as you once knew, and the next time you try to punch him, do not be surprised if he decides to punch back. Oh, before we forget this, Team 7 should take Dosu's scroll to qualify for getting to the tower in the center of this so-called Forest of Death, said Venom before swinging around on his web line to a nearby tree branch. What do we do with these two? I mean, one's dead, and the other is dying. This is so troublesome, said Shikamaru, as he rubbed his head in thought, and wondered where Naruto could be right now. You would do the wise thing and leave him. He'll be dead before you can get him any medical attention, and his scent will no doubt bring about animals of the predatory kind, said Neji, as he knew from his training with Guy, and at the Hyuga clan compound that animals of the predatory nature will follow the scent of blood depending on how much of it was spilled. What about Naruto? You heard that weird guy with the spider symbol on his chest. Did his own team abandon him? Said Choji, as the news of his fellow ramen consumer was weighing heavily on his mind since the two were good friends at the academy, and the blonde was always considerate when it came to his weight. It was as if Naruto knew what it was like to be discriminated against. He also said Naruto was alive and we'll probably meet them at the tower. Since we all have our needed scrolls, I don't think we need to take anyone else's here, and since most of the rookies are all here, it makes sense for us to just all go together to the tower in the center of the forest, said the lazy Nara while seeing Ino help her pink-haired rival for Sasuke with her hair, as he too wondered what became of Naruto and the strange figure with his warnings of Naruto punching back. I wish to see Naruto again as well and see what has transpired, that his flames of youth may have been diminished or changed from what they once were, said Lee, as he was all fired up, and was ready to go much to his two teammates' displeasure. If only they could leave him in the Forest of Death. Forest of Death Central Tower 2 days later. The three genin teams made their way into the tower with mixed expressions on their faces, as they couldn't help but wonder about Naruto, and felt a sense of curiosity towards the information they were told. They were surprised when several of their senseis appeared from their scrolls along with Iruka, who told them all about the meaning with the written inscription when they entered, and each sensei was surprised when asked about Naruto. This of course brought them to an interesting reaction from all of them at seeing the news, and very much improved Uzumaki Naruto. Flashback. Do you know where Naruto is? Asuma sensei. That guy in the forest said Naruto would be here, said Shikamaru, as his team was walking into the main area of the tower with their sensei, and the other teams had followed. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I care for the blonde baka or anything, but he's still a Konoha shinobi, and deserves to have someone ask about him, said Ino, as she was finding what happened to Naruto to be most curious and wanted to know more. Thanks a lot Ino-chan, and here we thought we were good enough to ask you on a date, said Naruto appearing from the ceiling above, scaring the crap out of the team and their senseis. I didn't even sense him, thought the Junin and Chunin walking with the majority of the rookies. Naruto, is that you? Said Choji, as he had dropped his chips, and stared at Naruto in shock like the others, with the females of the group having blushes on their faces. In the flesh, so to speak, said Naruto, as he was now taller, more muscled, and his spiky hair was even spikier with dark clothing that around him with a large leaf symbol on his back that was white. His voice is deeper. Kami, he's hot, thought Ino and Tenten at hearing his voice, with his grin making their faces turn cherry red. Naruto, you baka, where were you when we needed you? I thought you died, and if I have half a mind to punch you through a wall, said Sakura, as she was screaming like a banshee, and would have moved closer to him to punch his lights out if it wasn't for the Haruno being pinned to the wall with an angry-looking Kin pressing a kunai to her throat. Stay away from Naruto-sama or I'll finish what I started in the forest, said Kin, as many were surprised to see her there, and the fact she said Naruto-sama instead of just Naruto. Now Kin-chan, be nice. We need her for this portion of the exam, said Naruto, as he saw Kin move away reluctantly from the pink-haired girl, and moved to stand by her Naruto's side. Forgive me Naruto-sama, said Kin in a submissive voice, and it made everyone's eyes bulge out of their sockets. Again with the Naruto-sama, thought Ino and Tenten, finding themselves increasingly jealous before they both each realized one thing. Hinata was going to be pissed. End flashback. As they walked to the main area, Naruto had explained while saying, we, instead of, I, which was noticeable to a certain Nara that the Hokage had put Kin under his protection, and Konoha prepared in secret for what Orochimaru had planned. They also asked his sudden growth, muscles, and voice increase, to which Naruto told them was a growth spurt that was long overdue. When they asked about that guy with the spider symbol on his back that interfered in the fighting, Naruto told them that guy was a close personal friend of his, and deserved to be treated with respect. While most of the group bought it, Neji, Shikamaru, an angry Sasuke, a slightly scared Sakura, and the other adults of the group knew otherwise. With the various groups here, Kin in the Hokage's office within the tower, and the other remaining days past, the time had come for the preliminaries to begin. The Hokage did his usual talk on what exactly the Chunin exams were for, as a means to keeping the peace, and after a certain traitorous, genin, left the competition, did the selection for who fought who began. Subaku no Konkuro vs Akamichi Choji. Ha, what an easy win I'm going to have. Me against the fat kid of that group, said Konkuro, as he made his way down, and stopped when he heard Choji begin screaming for his blood for calling him fat. Konkuro, you asshole, thought Tamari, as she looked at the puppet master of her family, and wished he hadn't done that before she looked over at the blonde male on the other side of the room to let her mind wander into many fantasies she was having of him. She wasn't the only was, as Hyuga Hinata was secretly trying to get close enough to Naruto to touch him, and see if his new appearance was real or a henge. Whenever she got close, Naruto would turn in her direction, and she would be back at her original position with him looking at her before giving her a kissing motion with his lips making the Hyuga turn a heavy red. All the while, perverted thoughts were running through the Hyuga heiress's head, and it was because others were in the large room that she didn't act on them. Kiba was feeling intimidated by Naruto with Akamaru whimpering at the sight of Naruto since the boy had clearly become an alpha of sorts. Shino had listened to his bugs, which told him that something unnatural had happened to the Uzumaki while strangely saying that his body was alive, and refusing to say anything else about it. While it wasn't a threat to the heir to the Aburame clan right now, the bugs themselves were too afraid to land on the boy for fear of being devoured by his skin, and again it puzzled Shino that his bugs would say such a thing. Yuhi Kurenai was having mixed feelings between worry because of Naruto's sudden as well as new look may have been caused by the Kyuubi and that of finding herself now finding she was attracted to Uzumaki's new appearance. She tried desperately to keep her thoughts away from the boy while focusing on her secret relationship with Asuma, but was finding it difficult, and the fact that she could see Anko looking all giddy had made Kurenai think like the snake mistress that caused the Genjutsu mistress to have further problems. As for the preliminary match below, a sickly pale-looking Junin that was the proctor had made the announcement that Subaku no Konkuro had won after the Akamichi had been hit with a gas-based sedative. Not long into the match, Choji had turned into a big boulder that tried to crush the puppet user into roadkill, and the said puppet user had thrown what he had wrapped on his back to the side at the end. The result let Choji destroy Konkuro's body, which turned out to be the actual puppet that looked like Konkuro, and was filled with knockout gas. In the end, Konkuro was the winner, and Choji was sleeping like a baby while dreaming of food causing everyone to sweat drop. Nice Choji, always thinking with your stomach even in your sleep, thought Shikamaru, as he sighed at that while looking over at Naruto, who laughed at the sight, and made the women in the room swoon with blushes on their faces. Uchiha Sasuke vs Subaku no Tamari. "We're beginning to wonder just who is running the board," said Naruto to himself with Venom in full agreement and had a feeling that the councils were pulling the strings for this behind the scenes. The Naruto and Venom had also become glad that they had the Hokage keep the whole things with Sasuke having the curse seal being sealed being made known to the two councils. That along with the Uchiha being forbidden from using chakra or his Sharingan out of the fear it may stimulate the curse seal being made known to anyone was another bonus. "Time to show you guys the real standard in Konoha you'll have to follow after I'm done with this weakling from Suna and a girl no less," said Sasuke, as he always felt that the female of the species was only meant for breeding and serving the Uchiha males like they were servants. "That Suna girl is going to kick his ass," said Venom from within Naruto while Naruto himself agreed and turned from the arena to Hinata, who moved faster than Lee to move back to her original spot, and he gave her another kiss motion that caused the girl to blush a mixed reddish-purple shade. Naruto made a kiss motion towards me again. Now all I need to do is go on a date with him, lead him to someplace quiet, and then, thought Hinata, as she tried to keep the big red blush and the nosebleed that wanted to come out under control. "Ready to lose to me weakling," said Sasuke, as he smirked while trying to act tough while he silently wished that Kakashi would let him use his Sharingan and his chakra for this fight. "Konoha shinobi are so arrogant. I'm looking forward to knocking you down a peg," said Tamari, as she prepared to use her fan, and grinned at the Uchiha with a smile that said she was going to enjoy hurting him. "She's going to hurt him so badly," said Konkuro grinning evilly since getting on his big sister's bad side wasn't good for anyone. "It doesn't matter so long as there is blood to be spilled," said Gaara, as he looked from the match to Naruto, and heard, "Mother," calling for him to kill the fox across from him. "Begin," said Hayate, as he jumped back, and got ready to call the match like he saw it. Sasuke chose to dash forward while throwing a few shuriken and kunai at Tamari to get her to take action against it. Tamari simply dodged them all easily and hit Sasuke with a wind scythe jutsu that sent the Uchiha into a wall that knocked him out in one shot. "That was boring," said Naruto while shaking his head at Sasuke's tactics that were predictable and straightforward. "Winner, Subaku no Tamari," said Hayate, who looked at the Hokage with eyes that said, "How the hell did Sasuke get this far?" And the Hokage just sighed knowing that all of the reports on the Uchiha were no doubt exaggerated by the council's own hand-picked academy teachers that sucked up to them in hopes of getting a big raise. Within moments, Kakashi appeared next to Sasuke, and took him away to the hospital where he would stay in his own private room before he was taken out of it to get the Junin's hands-on training. Among the many things Venom had told Naruto during their time together, it was that Kakashi was a hypocrite that never followed the rules he gave, and that favoritism was something that the Junin was going to do in regards to Sasuke. "Oh Kakashi, if only Minato saw you now, he would be ashamed of you, and the rest of this village," thought the Hokage, as he let out a light sigh while putting his pipe back in his mouth, and let its addictive properties take hold once more. "Not bad, but the fight could have been better," said Venom, which made Naruto frown in confusion, and wondered what it was that could have been better. Aside from the Uchiha being killed, that is. How could it have been better? Thought Naruto, as he turned his attention to Temari, who winked at him, and shaking her rear in his direction when walking up the steps. "That is how, my dear vessel. Though personally it would be better if she let us see what color her panties were," said Venom, giggling like a pervert, and Naruto mentally sighed while physically his eyes were staring at Temari's backside. "How dare that slut from Suna do that to my Naruto-kun? He should be staring at my ass when I walk up steps," thought Hinata, as she was glaring at Temari, who grinned at the Hyuga, and it only made the silent Uzumaki stalker more infuriated. Inuzuka Kiba vs Uzumaki Naruto. Someone is trying to screw Naruto over, and I have an idea of who it is, with it not being just a single person either, thought Sarutobi, as he scowled at the names being drawn, and knew this was far from random. "Sweet. Come on Akamaru, let's show this puberty-hitting dead last what it means to take on a real alpha," said Kiba, but Akamaru wouldn't budge, and ran behind Kurenai so Kiba wouldn't pursue him. "We're waiting, Kiba. If your dog doesn't want to fight, then don't force him to, and get your ass down here," said Naruto, tapping his foot impatiently at the Inuzuka's attempt to get Akamaru, which almost resulted in him diving for the dog, and the chance of him seeing up his sensei's skirt. Surely a sight for all who wished to see try, but the possibility of coming out of such an attempt with a sane mind and an unharmed body would be impossible. "Fine, I'll show you just who is the better of the two of us, and then Hinata will give up her crush on you to go out with me," said Kiba, seeing the Hyuga girl look at Naruto with a heavy blush, pushing her fingers, and then looked up at her sensei for some sort of help. All Kurenai could do was shake her head while wishing Hinata the best of luck to her in explaining to the Uzumaki boy the whole stalking him and doing secret pervert acts when they got older. "Begin," said Hayate, as he saw the two genin square off against the other, and for a moment the Junin thought he was staring at a young Yondaime. Hayate made a mental note to double his medication for his sickness after he checked it for any side effects that would bring him hallucinations. Like Sasuke did with Temari in his match, Kiba moved quickly to attack Naruto with his clan's speed that, while not on par with Rock Lee, was still pretty fast for a genin, and aimed to maim his opponent. The plan might have worked in the beginning had Naruto not jumped effortlessly over the Inuzuka air and landed gracefully while smiling his ever-confident smile at Kiba. "Now Kiba, we know you wish to find a mate soon, but we don't think we're your type, and we would prefer you didn't try to force me near you just you get a kiss. We just do not swing that way," said Naruto, making several people around them laugh at the angry Inuzuka, while Hinata was admiring Naruto's behind while her inner self was telling Kiba to stay away from her Naruto-kun and that she would make the dog-commanding boy pay for blurting out her secret. "When I get a hold of you, I'm going to beat you within an inch of your life, and show just how I am better than you," to Hinata. "Piercing Fang," said Kiba, as he tried to use his clan's attack, and Naruto dodged again while looking very bored. "And how exactly are you better than us again?" said Naruto, as he raised an eyebrow at Kiba, and dodged Kiba's attacks again. "Because I'm not some filthy demon that hides behind human skin," said Kiba, throwing a smoke bomb onto the ground while Naruto narrowed his eyes and let his face become protected thanks to Venom creating his mask for him, since no one would be able to see past the smoke bomb for a little while. While this happened, Sarutobi narrowed his eyes at Kiba, and wondered just who had told the boy about Naruto's guest, before making a mental note to have Ibiki take a crack at the Inuzuka air to get some information. "You make it sound so simple for everyone around us, Kiba-tem. Why don't you help us try to shed our human skin to reveal the demon you claim we are to them," said Naruto, as he moved left, then right, another right, a left, did a one-handed handstand, and then jumped out of the smoke to land on his feet. "That mask," thought the various genin and Junin watching Naruto. "Gladly, Piercing Fang," said Kiba, as he leapt forward spinning, and aimed directly for Naruto's chest. "Pay attention everyone, as you are about to see why no one invites us to play a game of Twister," said Naruto. He bent back at an impossible angle with only one of his feet on the ground, with his other foot hitting Kiba right in the face, sending him high into the air, with gravity soon reapplying itself to him before making the Inuzuka fall to the ground hard. Winner, Uzumaki Naruto, said Hayate, who looked to the Hokage, and sent him a look that said, "How did he do that?" That was answered with shrug from the Hokage while the medics took Kiba away. Which was a lie since Naruto explained everything to him in his office in the tower. Flashback several days ago. So let me get this straight, Naruto. You are telling me that this creature inside of you, calling itself Venom, is a symbiotic organism that bonded with you in order to live, and has basically altered your body to be at an otherwise perfect performance. Said the old Hokage, who was getting a headache from this information, and so was Kin after already telling the Hokage about Orochimaru's plans for Konoha during the finals. To say the Hokage was surprised was an understatement, and would like saying the old Hokage was, well, old. He knew that Suna had fallen on some bad times, but this was not good for the Leaf, and even more so if Orochimaru could lure other allies away from being just that to Konoha. Not only that, but what happened to Naruto was nothing short of amazing, but the news of a seal being placed on the boy to lock away any knowledge he gained made him worried, and suspected that members of the Shinobi Council had a hand in that. That's right, old man, we are one, so don't be surprised if we start speaking differently in terms of speaking like we are two and not one. Got it, said Naruto, seeing the old man rub his temples while mumbling something about having a headache. I pissed off someone in a past life, thought Sarutobi before looking at Naruto and then over at Kin, now shifting nervously since she had defected over to the enemy of her former master. Now that you have our story, old man, we need to know what becomes of Kin-chan here, and how do we stop the councils from screwing us over, said Naruto, as he saw the old Hokage wince at that since the councils had been messing with things for some time, and it had been a major thorn in the old monkey's ass for over a decade. Since Naruto's birth, actually. Well, for you, Naruto, there is little I can do, as the councils are determined to make sure you never see past your 16th birthday, and I've been doing everything I can to stop them. As for Kin, the councils will want her viciously interrogated by their own people, and no doubt thrown away, saying that her usefulness is over to them. The only thing that we can do, given how she described everything all the way up to her capture, is to make her your slave, and secret concubine, said the Sandame, as he secretly prepared a sound barrier jutsu under the table 2 seconds before their faces went red, and Kin's became red with anger. I have to what? Yelled Kin, who wished she had a kunai right now so she could cut off the old man's balls to stuff in his stupid Hokage hat. Would you prefer that the two councils get their way? They've tried numerous times to remove Naruto or turn him into a weapon despite what the Yondaime's dying wish was. They will torture you as if you were someone from Iowa and then dispose of you how they see fit. They will use means to make you one if not a servant to all their needs by using a law that has been around since the Shadaime founded the village. I would also prefer that you were the slave and concubine of someone around your age, who will at the very least will treat you like a person, and not like some object to be used like a thing for one's own agenda, said the Sandame, as he had seen many prisoners of the female variety be taken by the high-level council and clan members with the most pull that became slaves. From what Sarutobi learned from his informant, the ones that became the Uchiha clan's slaves soon killed themselves within a week of their enslavement, and that was if they were properly fed before going to the Uchiha clan. We wouldn't treat you like property, Kin-chan. Not our style, said Naruto, looking at the girl, who while still angry at the idea of being someone's slave and secret concubine felt that the alternative was far worse. All right, I did say I would do anything to be free from Orochimaru. I assume I have to get some kind of seal or tattoo of some kind to mark me as his, said Kin, as she was taught that girls that were in this situation were always marked by some kind of seal to show they were someone's property. Like the branch family members of the Hyuga clan. Correct. Now, since keeping you a slave, and a concubine needs to be kept a secret for the most part, the seal will have to be placed in a certain area of your body, said the Sandame, as he saw Kin blush at that since she had not been told where such marks were placed, and next to her Naruto was feeling a little red in the face too. He better be big down there, thought Kin, as she could tell Naruto was a nice guy, and while being intimate with him was the last thing she wanted to do at the moment, it was going to happen sooner or later. End flashback. It had taken the days waiting for the other teams to get here to apply the seal and let the ink dry to make things official for the former Sound Shinobi to become Naruto's living property. The two were then sent to Anko, who upon seeing Naruto nearly jumped the boy for looking so hot, and had to be restrained with the Hokage there to prevent it. The Snake Princess pouted, of course, as she wanted to get a test run on Naruto's new taller, well-built, and athletic body that she wanted to ride until doomsday. She did, however, comply with the Hokage's orders in telling Naruto and Kin the rules behind being both master as well as slave. Rule number 1. The master's commands are law. Almost anything he or she says must be done within reason so long as they don't involve betraying the village or, more importantly, the Hokage. Rule number 2. No one can hurt the master's slave, or they, if more than one person, will pay both physically to the point of death and financially to the point of assets being taken to help pay for medical bills for the slave's injuries. Rule number 3. The slave, while losing most of his or her individuality, is allowed to have some form of an identity outside of the house if the master says they can. The master cannot physically harm or kill his or her slave if he or she disobeys the master's commands if they are impossible for the slave to complete. Example: have a slave that has Chunin-level chakra reserves create an army of shadow clones. To do so would in fact violate terms of ownership and would be punished the same way as someone under rule number 2. Rule number 4. A master can free his or her slave to have them become his or her husband, wife, depending on the gender and age of given slave. Note: this is only allowed if both parties are recognized as adults of the village. Example: if slave was once a shinobi, then he or she is considered an adult, and will be forced to follow rules as such like an adult. If the slave is a civilian, then he or she will not be considered an adult until he or she is over the age of 16, and will be considered an adult by the Hokage. But that's past history. They know about us, sort of, said Venom, as the mask that was around Naruto's face released, and saw many people drop their jaws at that. Well, at least they aren't calling for our immediate death or calling us a monster, thought Naruto, to which Venom agreed and wondered how everyone else was going to take it. Good point, said Venom, as Naruto now made his way up the stairs, and saw all of his fellow rookies looking at him in wonder. What, do we have something on our face? Said Naruto, as he was now grabbing his face to touch various spots of it with his black fingerless gloved hand with the white patch on the back, and looked at everyone with innocent-looking eyes. You're the one that stopped Sasuke from mutilating that sound shinobi and killed that other kid with the wrappings around most of his face, said Neji, as he was currently annoyed that this nobody had deceived his Byakugan, and wondered what the Uzumaki's secret to it was. Perhaps, or we are that person's long-lost cousin, said Naruto, making the now slightly annoyed Hyuga branch member become even more annoyed at the poor attempt at witty humor. There is also the fact that you say, we, and not, I, when you speak, Naruto. The guy in the forest did the exact same thing, said Shikamaru, as he had already suspected it, and his genius mind hadn't failed him yet. Then there is the fact that girl from the sound team named Kin clings to you like a lifeline, said Ino, as she felt she had to become involved, and felt that to not speak up would be stupid. Yeah, you might want to keep your mouth shut on that for the better part of a month, as we don't wish anyone to know she is with us, said Naruto, getting confused looks from the others. With you, how n Naruto-kun, said Hinata, as she was secretly hyperventilating, and her inner self was praying what she was thinking was not true. It's a long story, Hinata-chan, but if you wait for the better part of a month, we will tell you, and leave nothing out. Deal, said Naruto, turning to his shy Hyuga stalker whose face was now burning up at being so close, and her realization of it became apparent to her when it did. Deal, Naruto-kun, said Hinata, as she was glad she could get an answer of some kind, and hoped things weren't what they seemed, while her inner self fainted from being called Hinata-chan by her crush. That's our girl, said Naruto with a smile that made Hinata's face glow like a 100-watt bulb that was just about to explode from him saying that. Not to interrupt your moment here, Naruto, as troublesome as it is already, but the next match is up, and it's quite a headache-sized one too, said Shikamaru, as he pointed to the screen that ran the names, and everyone looked to see that it was indeed quite a headache-class problem. Hyuga Hinata vs Hyuga Neji. That can't be good, said Venom, with Naruto agreeing, as he noticed all of the color in Hinata's face leave her, and she became so pale that the Hyuga heiress could have made an albino have more color by comparison. Perfect, thought Neji, as he was looking forward to fighting his cousin, and showing just how weak she was in front of everyone. Don't worry, Hinata-chan, you can take him, all you have to do is believe in yourself and it will happen, said Naruto, as he knew the girl would need lots of encouragement, and he was the best one to give it. He believes in me, thought Hinata, as she steeled her resolve to fight, and went down the steps with Neji already down there waiting for her with a sinister grin on his face. This could get nasty, thought Hayate, as he saw the Hokage frowning, and was in full agreement with it. All the Leaf Junin were, which was why they were secretly on standby, and make sure that there was no life lost here. If things get nasty, we will have to make ourselves known in order to protect the shy one, and severely cripple the arrogant one, said Venom, as he sensed the bloodlust that was coming from Neji, and knew his vessel was going to have to act soon. Begin, said Hayate, as he moved his hand down, and watched the two now go into a staring contest. I have looked forward to this moment for a long time, Hinata-sama, when fate would smile on me, and give me a victory over the main family. My only regret will be that this moment not be seen by as many people as I wish it could be. If you were smart, you would just quit, and let me advance while you still keep some form of Hyuga dignity, said Neji, as he got into his gentle fist stance, and watched Hinata get into her own. I won't quit, Neji-ni-san, said Hinata, as she felt Naruto's eyes on her, and knew that holding back was not an option in this fight. Begin, said Hayate with his hand going down, as the two Hyuga clan members now attacking the other viciously with their gentle fist skills, and began hitting the other with devastating blows. Hinata's moving pretty fast, and here I thought she was this shy frail girl that was too scared of her own shadow, said Ino, as she was impressed with the fierceness of the Hyuga girl, and realized Hinata was not the frail thing everyone thought she was. She may be shy, but Hinata is hardly frail, said Naruto, as he saw Hinata was pushing herself to keep Neji from gaining any form of advantage, and he also saw Neji struggling to press for an advantage. This continued until it seemed Hinata landed a hit on Neji, but in fact it was the other way around, which revealed Neji had been holding back enough to weaken Hinata to put her in a bad state, and made the Hyuga heiress cough up blood. However, much to her opponent's surprise, Hinata did not surrender like Neji thought she would, and said some hard-hitting words to the branch member. Neji became so angered by her words that he rushed to end the girl's life despite the proctor telling him that he won the match, and Neji would have succeeded had the Junins not interfered. That in Neji's hand he was going to use for the kill shot was covered by webbing and was pulled back on a line of the spidery substance that led all the way to one Uzumaki Naruto. However, Uzumaki Naruto's physical form was not what it once was, as it was now covered in bluish black, had a large white spider symbol, and his masked face had the appearance of something demonic. His form was wider with more muscle behind it, his hands were larger with claws, and the mouth that appeared on what could only be a living mask was filled with 2 to 3 times the average teeth a human would have, never mind the tongue or jaw size that far exceeded a human one too. Add to the fact that this creature that was once Naruto was fully pissed at Neji, it was not a good day to be the Hyuga branch member, and from the bloodlust radiating from the creature. Neji thought so too. Leaping from his position, Venom somersaulted over the scared people below to land right next to Hinata's own while hitting the ground hard with the echo of it proving he did, and the stopped themselves from touching the fragile-looking form of Hinata. Naruto had already disengaged the web line from his body, as the two entities acting as one look at the girl with worry right before she opened her eyes to see him, and they retracted the scary-looking form of Venom to let the Hyuga girl look at the real Naruto behind it. Hinata-chan, don't move. The medics are coming right now so you'll be all right, said Naruto while wondering what power inside of him or Venom for that matter could save this girl from certain doom. The only thing they could think of was the fox, but the seal Orochimaru hit him with had messed up that possibility completely. Did I make you proud? Said Hinata coughing soon after she spoke, as she saw his blue eyes she loved to look at looking back at her with admiration and respect for fighting so hard to prove herself. Yeah, you gave it your all and that is what that matters, said Naruto smiling down at the Hyuga girl smiling slightly at him and the Uzumaki boy wished he had some kind of power to heal her. By this point, the medics had arrived, and were trying to ignore the fact that Naruto was by far anything they had ever seen before that could be considered human. They carried Hinata away on the stretcher with Naruto looking at her being taken away, and felt the unmistakable feeling of pain in his heart. Do not feel sorry for that weakling. She was a failure and like all failures they meet the same fate of losing to their superiors, said Neji, as he didn't even feel remotely sorry for what he did to his cousin, and showed it with a smirk on his face. When Hinata was finally out of sight though, Naruto's eyes turned to Neji, and his caring ocean blue eyes turned to cold icy ones before the black symbiotic mask that transformed into a demonic face. Naruto looked down at the blood Hinata coughed up and retrieved it with his clawed fingers, not caring that everyone was focusing on him right now. Taking out his inhuman tongue that could rival Orochimaru, Naruto licked the blood off of his fingers with careful precision while the white part that showed where his eyes were on his living mask had closed in concentration. Once he was done, Naruto's eyes opened, and he let out a sigh like he was savoring a rare wine before turning to Neji fully now while letting out a very unnatural growl. It's been a long time since we tasted blood from a pure soul Hyuga Neji, said the inhuman voice of Naruto in his venom state that put so many people on edge. Gaara included. He makes mother nervous, said Gaara, as he stared at this creature below him, and it unnerved him when he felt the slow rise of killing intent that was barely being restrained at the moment within the blonde-haired boy. We do not fully understand why you hate this pure soul that is Hinata-chan, but we do know is that she did not deserve it, and as such we feel that you must pay, said Naruto, blasting the Hyuga with an incredible amount of killer intent that froze the genin along with the various junins around him, having rarely felt such desire to maim another human being. Charging forward with incredible speed, Naruto dodged Guy, leapt over Hayate while slamming the junin into the ground doing so, and shot webbing at Kurenai's hands to stop her from making a genjutsu. Right after Naruto landed, he tripped said woman with his right leg with a quick leg sweep, and finished with an open palm to Asuma's gut after hitting Guy with an elbow to the gut when the spandex-wearing junin tried to stop him one more time. He just took down 4 junin without breaking a sweat, thought everyone watching, and was too surprised to move seeing this demonic thing reach his prize. You seem to enjoy spilling the blood of an innocent woman, Hyuga Neji. We now wonder to ourselves just how it might feel for us if we were to spill the blood of a guilty man just like yourself, said Naruto, grabbing the stunned and terrified Hyuga branch member by the throat while his wicked tongue was less than an inch from Neji's face. Naruto, stop this at once. If you do this now, I'll disqualify you, and how do you think Hinata-san will feel if that happens? Said Sarutobi, as he felt wrong to play on the boy's heart like that, but it was for the good of the boy, and to keep him off the chopping block with the councils, again. She would be displeased. This much we know, old man, which is why we are leaving a message for this fool to remember long after this is over, and that you should not get comfortable over what you did to Hinata-chan. We will visit thee again of this matter, Neji. Oh, rest assured this is not over, said Naruto, as he let out a sinister chuckle when he spoke the last part, and moved away from the now quite shaken Hyuga Neji. Said the spider to the fly, thought Shikamaru, who knew from his childhood years that Naruto was very protective of his friends, and in this case with Hinata, the Hyuga clan might as well have the funeral parlor get ready for Neji. With Naruto's piece said, he turned his demonic face to a normal masked one without the various teeth that would be a dentist's worst nightmare, and after his form slimmed down a bit just jumped onto the railing above him before his uniform changed back to normal clothing. Getting off the railing, Naruto turned around to look at the Hokage with a look that said, "We better get him or it will be your ass in his place," which the Hokage didn't really want at the moment, and wondered if the Kyuubi had been cut off from Naruto thanks to Orochimaru. I'm getting too old for this shit, thought the Hokage, as he nodded toward Hayate, who had some dirt on his chin, to proceed, and to let the incident with Naruto to slide. Had the Uchiha done it, the 2 councils would have praised the spoiled bastard, and it was only fair for the Hokage bring that up should the councils decide to try punishing Naruto. The rest of the matches went better for the most part, with Kabuto's 2 teammates being eliminated by Aburame Shino and the other by Subaku no Gaara. Shikamaru forfeited against Lee since the mini guy could move faster than the Nara could think and decided to lose without an injury from the match. Instead, he got his from Ino for quitting like that against another shinobi, and was overjoyed at fighting Sakura. It had ended in a double KO of course, as neither of the 2 were really that strong due to being Sasuke fangirls, and the Yamanaka threatened to use her mind transfer jutsu on the lazy Nara, going into detail about how she would have him walk around in girly dress long enough for his ever-sweet man-whipping mother to take pictures of him trying on various female clothing. The poor Nara nearly had a heart attack from the start of Ino's first sentence of the threat. In the end, only Tenten didn't have to fight, as they now had 8 competitors for the final part of the exam, and all that was left was to pick out a number for each shinobi. Enko walked over to each one with a box with slips of paper with the numbers 1 to 8 on them, and each of the competitors took one of the slips in the box at random. State your name and number you have, said Ibiki, as he looked at Neji first, and saw the boy show him the number in his hand. Hyuga Neji, I got number 2, said Neji, showing the paper with the number written on it. Subaku no Tamari, I got number 4, said Tamari, showing her slip of paper with the said number. Subaku no Gaara, I got number 7, said Gaara, as he had his sand hold the paper with the odd number for him. Rock Lee, I got #8, Yash, said Lee, only to be smacked on the back of the head by Tenten next to him. Baka, oh sorry, I'm Isis Tenten. I have number 6, said Tenten, a bit sheepish at being the current center of attention while showing her slip of paper to Ibiki. Aburame Shino, I have number 3, said Shino, showing his paper with the given number while Tamari inwardly gagged at having to fight the bug user. Though it was still much better than facing her own little brother Gaara. Subaku no Konkuro, I got number 5, said Konkuro while silently dancing around inside at not having to face Gaara or his sister since both could kick his ass all over the place. Uzumaki Naruto, and we got number 1, which is kind of interesting since we thought we were always that number, and intend to fight to keep it, said Naruto, turning his head to Neji, who was now sweating a bit nervously, though he tried to keep his face stoic, and trying to keep the horrible demonic-looking face from appearing in his mind. All right, we have your names, numbers, and who you will be facing 1 month from now in the finals in the Chunin Stadium, said Hibiki, showing them the list on the board. First match, Uzumaki Naruto vs Hyuga Neji. Second match, Aburame Shino vs Subaku no Tamari. Third match, Subaku no Konkuro vs Isis Tenten. Fourth match, Subaku no Gara vs Rock Lee. You now know who you are fighting in 1 month. Good luck to all of you, as you will need it for the road ahead in preparing for what lies ahead of you, and make your nation proud, said the Hokage, as he looked at the competitors while stopping at Naruto's form, and saw the grin that never left the demon vessel's face at seeing himself paired against the Hyuga prodigy. Hyuga Neji, you better give your soul to Kami before our match up, because when the time come for the day we do battle, your ass will belong to us, and no one is going to stand in my way. Thought Naruto, as Naruto let out a chuckle while his second guest in his body covered him in his venom-like state, and he shot out a web line to take off to see Kin to tell her the news. Then the fun would truly begin. It was dark out when Naruto swung through Konoha with Kin on his back holding on for dear life, as he moved this way, and that while running on rooftops when he wasn't using the web line method of getting to his apartment. He told Kin outright that his place was not a palace by any means, but it was home, and Naruto was glad to have whatever he could get in this world considering how the village had not treated him like they were supposed to. Kin didn't mind since her home back in Sound was basically a shade short of being a prison cell if it didn't have the bed and window in it to give place clean air. Hell, the clothes she had on when she entered Konoha for the exam were all she had, and upon the new change to her way of life had to forfeit them for civilian clothes. Naruto, being the gentleman that he was, had told Kin that he would get her a new wardrobe, and make her stay in Konoha pleasant rather than hell on earth. He's being so nice to me, as any other boy his age or older would have treated me like crap, or used me like Enko said most would if they were given the chance, thought Kin, as she had known a fair share of women, and even men had become slaves in various shinobi villages after being tortured beyond the breaking point. At least with her, Kin could say she was glad she was Uzumaki Naruto's slave, and not some other old pervert that could be the age of her father. Better to be with a guy that would treat her like a person, than someone that would treat her like property, and from what she heard from the Uchihas match up with that Suna girl Tamari. Sasuke was the exact opposite of Naruto. We're almost there, Kin-chan. Hold on, said Naruto, as he swung through Konoha, and after leaping off 2 more rooftops landed on the roof of the apartment building he called home. Kin was dizzy from the ordeal, as she had never experienced anything like it before, and had to run to the side of the apartment building to release the contents of her stomach. When she finished, Kin turned to Naruto, who looked sheepish even with that organic black mask on his face, but she had to admit that Naruto looked sexy like he did, and preferred him like this over that orange thing he had worn in the beginning. Can I ask you something, Naruto-sama? Said Kin, as they left the roof for Naruto's apartment, and the boy had changed into black clothing once more. Fire away, said Naruto, as he opened the door to his apartment after unlocking it with his key, and entered the apartment while looking sheepish again at the slight mess the room was in. Why did you wear all that orange when shinobi are supposed to be very, not orange when out on missions? Said Kin, as she saw the place was somewhat nice considering a 12-year-old kid was living on his own, and fighting a village he called home that hated him for reasons she just learned due to speaking with the Hokage. It's the only thing we could get. Stores, restaurants, and other places would sell us little to nothing because of the furball in us. This is all we have to go with, as the fuckers that run the civilian council also ran the stores in Konoha, and they were somehow able to get the word out about us to them before the law could be put on paper. A lot of good that did, as people thought they would go to heaven if they killed us, and thought it was worth being killed if they got in a good shot in at us before they died, said Naruto, as he looked at Kin with a look that said it was apologetic to her in getting such a hated master. Naruto-kun, thought Kin, and she blushed suddenly at using that suffix in her head while wondering why she thought it with that suffix in the first place. Come on, Kin-chan, let us show you the bedroom so you can get some sleep there while we take the couch. Just because you're our slave doesn't mean you will sleep like one, said Naruto, as he showed her to his bedroom, which made Kin blush at being in a boy's room, and on a boy's bed that he was letting her sleep in while he took the couch. You don't have to sit on the couch, Naruto-sama, as you can sleep in the bed, and you could sleep in the bed with me. Said Kin, letting out a squeak at the end, and her face was now blushing up horribly at her saying that. She wasn't the only one, as Naruto was doing the same thing, and felt that something like that would be extremely compromising for the both of them when they woke up in the early morning. "Are you sure?" said Naruto while Venom saying, "Why ask her such a stupid question?" In his head, since apparently the symbiotic organism wanted its vessel to get laid a lot. "It would help with my transition into being your slave," said Kin, now feeling nervous and was beginning to mentally berate herself in being so forward. "Well, if it will help, then we won't stop you, Kin-chan, and provided you have some form of sleepwear we will see to it things aren't perverted," said Naruto while Venom was looking at his vessel in his mind while shaking its head. Before Kin could respond, there was a knock at the door, and Naruto moved to keep Kin out of view so no one would know she was here, despite the fact that rumors had no doubt already gotten around of him having a slave. Upon getting to his door, Naruto waited a second to see if the special spider sense that Venom gave him would activate, but after a while, with nothing happening, the Uzumaki opened the door, and was surprised to see one Uchiha Sasuke glaring at him like he always did, with Hitaki Kakashi right behind him reading that perverted book. "What do you guys want?" said Naruto, as he looked at his so-called sensei with a bored look on his face, and ignored Sasuke's scowl that he boy was sporting for not meeting the Uchiha in the eyes. "Oh, we were in the neighborhood, and Sasuke wanted to talk to you," said Kakashi, as he had been surprised that Naruto had won, and Sasuke had lost against their opponents. "About what? It's getting late and we have only a few hours before the clothing stores close," said Naruto, making the Junin raise an eyebrow while reading his book lazily, since he was well aware of the blonde's frictional past with the various stores. "This is about that girl you have claimed as yours, loser." "I want her," said Sasuke, as he had no intention of using the girl to restore his clan, but to take something of possible value from Naruto, and rub it in the boy's face. "Excuse us," said Naruto, looking at Sasuke, then Kakashi, and then back at Sasuke like this was some cruel joke. "Sasuke wishes to have the slave you've recently acquired to become his wife to use to revive his clan," said Kakashi, as that was what Sasuke had told him, and who was the Junin to disbelieve in the young Uchiha in wanting to restore his clan to greatness. "We were being sarcastic. As for your oh-so-kind request to wanting my slave, the quick short answer we are looking for is simply, no," said Naruto, as his eyes became deadly serious, and the look on Sasuke's face was pure anger at being denied. "What, you dare refuse me, an Uchiha elite," said Sasuke, as he had always had things that he wanted handed to him without question, and enjoyed it very much, so that he to say no to him was out of the question. "No, the Tsuchikage of Iwa. Of course you, Sasuke Tem. We do not answer to you and will not give up Kin-chan for your own personal amusement," said Naruto, as he began to shut the door only for Kakashi to stop him, and looked at him seriously. "Naruto, this is not something you can just say no to, and if you do say no one more time, I will tell the Hokage you are forfeiting your position in the Chunin exams for Sasuke to take in your place," said Kakashi, as he wanted Obito proud, and felt that Sasuke needed this more than anything else. "He will know it is a lie, as he will summon us to his office to confirm what we will tell him as false, and see to it you are punished for making alternative means to give this weak child what he wants," said Naruto, as his clothes were shimmering slightly, and signaled to the Junin that if this turned into a fight he would be ready for it. "I'm an Uchiha and you are some no-clan freak of nature. You don't deserve to have that kind of power I heard you displayed during the preliminaries or the slave girl you have in this dump," said Sasuke, as he made a move to get through Naruto to take Kin by force, and with Kakashi by his side the Uchiha was confident he could. He was mistaken, as Naruto put his hand on Sasuke's chest holding him in place, and the fierceness in the Uzumaki eyes told the Uchiha that when push came to shove Naruto would just skip to the punching. Sasuke, however, didn't care about what those eyes told him, and put his hand on Naruto's wrist while trying to pry it away while squeezing the Uzumaki limb to make him back off. He didn't even flinch. "You're now trespassing, and unless you want us to send you to the hospital like Tamari-chan did in the preliminaries, we suggest you leave," said Naruto, as his clothing now changed into his venom form, and his face became covered in the black mask that made him so mysterious in the forest of death. "You think this intimidates me, loser? All this makes you as some kind of freak. A real monster in the eyes of Konoha, and when you use that during the Chunin exams people are going to hate you worse than when they did before," said Sasuke, now flashing his Sharingan eyes at Naruto, who narrowed his own at Sasuke, and would have slugged the arrogant boy had Kakashi not seen it coming. "Come on, Sasuke. We did come here asking for a whole lot from Naruto after all that has happened, so let's give him some time to think about it," said Kakashi, as he put his hand on Sasuke's shoulder, and gave it a firm squeeze that stated, "Don't disobey, just follow," to which the Uchiha did with a smirk on his face like he was the winner. Hatake, said Naruto, as his mask left him, and wanted Kakashi to know that the boy no longer respected him. Hatake, no, Kakashi-sensei, or anything like that, thought Kakashi, as he stopped to look at Naruto, and so did Sasuke so he could hear what Naruto had to say. You are a disgrace as a teacher due to your desire to choose favorites. If you come here again for whatever reason that does not have the Hokage's seal on it for a mission, we will deem you hostile, and we will be within our rights to wipe you out from this world. Don't say we didn't warn you, Hatake, said Naruto before shutting the door, as he didn't care to see the Junin's shocked face, and the one that Sasuke had too, since not many people could get away with threatening a Junin without paying for it. I should report this to the Hokage. Naruto has no business threatening me, his sensei, like that, and saying that I'm playing favorites with my students, thought Kakashi, as he was certain that the Hokage would see it his way, since the councils had always done so, with the best interests being that of the last loyal Uchiha of Konoha. With that thought in mind, Kakashi left the apartment complex, and left with Sasuke to discuss future training with the Sharingan. Naruto himself, however, was pissed at those two coming to his home, and demanding things from him like the surrendering of his new slave. Even more infuriating, if it were possible, was the threat of losing his spot in the finals if he didn't hand Kin over to the spoiled Uchiha. The nerve of them! Feeling her new master's anger in the other room, Kin walked silently out of the room she was into his, and saw trying to keep his anger in check. She knew that Naruto knew she was in the room, as his senses were telling him that much, after having to grow eyes in the back of his head when he was younger, and could tell Kin was worried about him. She had overheard the whole thing, of course, as the door that connected the two rooms was open, and she just so happened to extend her range of hearing to the conversation turned argument between the three shinobi. Perhaps going shopping would be better suited for tomorrow, Naruto-sama, said Kin, as she walked over to Naruto carefully, and slowly moved her arms to his shoulders before hugging him from behind. Yeah, the mood to get you some clothes has kind of been killed after that. We're sorry about that, Kin-chan. With that in mind, we will sleep on the couch tonight so you can have the bed to yourself, as you have no form of clothing to work with, and mine that we once wore are all too short, said Naruto, wishing those two bakas hadn't shown up like they did. You don't have to. I mean, it's just that with all that's happened, I would prefer it if you slept in the same bed with me tonight, since it's going to happen eventually, said Kin, as her blush was returning to her face again, and she'd call herself a liar if someone asked her if she had any dirty thoughts running through her head right now. If that is what you wish, Kin-chan, but don't worry, as we will be a perfect gentleman to you, said Naruto, as he felt that the last thing he needed in his life was to be called a new kind of pervert or some sex-crazed pig if anyone truly believed he had a slave girl in his bedroom. Well, that takes care of one problem, thought Kin, but part of her wished he would be a little naughty and maybe grab her ass while they slept. She immediately blushed at that, as Kin had no idea what was making her think that way, and tried to push such perverted thoughts out of her mind. The two headed for bed, with Naruto changing his clothing attire to that of a black t-shirt, and jogging pants with his spider symbol on his right leg. Kin had stripped down to her undergarments that Anko provided with the civilian clothes, and wished that the special Junin had tried to get her some panties that didn't says, "Likes it rough," on the back. The former sound shinobi had a sinking suspicion that Anko did this to her on purpose, and judging from the blush on Naruto's face at seeing the words that were on the panties, she was probably right. And we are not going to hit that right now, why? Said Venom inside Naruto's head, as they saw Kin looked pretty hot at the moment, and that her baggy clothing she wore as a sound shinobi greatly hid her figure. Looking back at a similar girl in his mind that was Hinata, Naruto could only imagine just what that girl was holding back, and made a mental note to visit the Hyuga heiress tomorrow before training. We discussed this already in the living room. We are not perverts or pigs that just want to get laid. Just because you haven't been in a host that has for so many years does not mean you should have me get started right away, thought Naruto, as he had seen Kin slip into the covers of his bed with his body on semi-autopilot doing the same. You are old enough to kill in the eyes of this village now that they have declared you an adult, so I think you are old enough to enjoy the pleasures of the flesh like the girl next to you. Besides, Naruto, you heard what that spoiled Uchiha said earlier. He wants what is ours and has your so-called sensei backing him up on this matter. It won't be long before those two councils that pull your Hokage's strings get involved to take her away from you in favor of the Uchiha resurrecting his clan. You know they will, and once she is in the spoiled child's hands, Sasuke will make Kin want to end her life, and that is something we cannot allow, said Venom, as it was important that its vessel have happiness, and see to it nothing came between such feelings that Naruto was denied for so long. We'll deal with this later, thought Naruto, as he forced himself to go to sleep, and had paused for a second when he felt Kin's arm wrapped over him with a sigh, leaving her lips at the sense of comfort that followed being around him. If the Uchiha wins, this will all be a faint dream to Kin, and she will be miserable if she becomes Sasuke's little toy. I seriously doubt he wishes to use Kin to resurrect his clan and desires to simply take what is yours from you just to spite you, said Venom, as it knew when its vessel was asleep, and when he was awake. Not now, damn it, she's asleep at the moment, so doing it now is out of the question, and you know it, thought Naruto, as he felt Kin snuggle up to him more, and seemed to enjoy using his muscled body like a pillow. Fine, we will discuss this later, but by that time I think Kin will have helped make this decision for you, and get you to embrace this idea, said Venom. But his words were more to itself than to Naruto, and sensed Kin squeezing the boy tighter like a teddy bear for comfort. Oh yes, there would be more to discuss with this later, and most likely in the morning. The next day. Naruto woke up the next day feeling content at having a good night's sleep, as he found the rays of sunlight entering his window to be most inviting despite how it interrupted his dreams, and felt the weight of something on his body, tickling him. Frowning a little, he looked down with his now opened his eyes, and Naruto saw the black hair of Kin on his chest. Behind the hair, Kin was currently kissing his stomach region, and was now grinding her body against him a little. Kin must still be asleep and is having one of those intimate dreams that you don't tell your parents about, thought Naruto, as he tried to ignore the involuntary advances Kin was making on him, but found her actions to be most enjoyable and quite hard to ignore. What Naruto didn't know was that Kin was actually awake. Oh, the former shinobi from Sound did indeed have an intimate dream last night, and it had stirred something in Kin that she didn't even know she had. What Kin didn't know was it happened because of one of the side effects of the seal that helped stimulate the brain's pleasure center area to help the slave along in enjoying the company of his or her master. When Kin woke up just a few minutes before Naruto, she realized her body had changed positions overnight from sleeping next to him, to sleeping on top of him, and feeling a certain rather large appendage at his waist poking her awake. She remembered her early studies from the few female shinobis in Sound and the inside joke about just how well endowed a man or woman is by the amount of chakra they hold. From what Kin could feel down south at the waist area, she could easily estimate that even without the Kyuubi sealed in him, Naruto had more chakra than most Chunin-level shinobi. Another thing to consider was what Anko said about Naruto's stamina, which outlasted high-level shinobi when it came to chasing him after the pranks he pulled, and the nosebleed she had to fight back was pretty intense if her mind's calculations were on the dot. Naruto could have taken me anytime he wished, like any other perverted guy would have, or would have degraded me like most would their slaves. But he didn't. Of all the people I became a slave for, Naruto is the best guy to call my master, and I should be thankful I got such a sweet guy, thought Kin, as she had began to kiss his body, and grind a little against little Naruto, that wasn't so little from what she could feel. Kin-chan, said Naruto, as he couldn't stop the small moan that left mouth when he said that, and didn't see Kin smile when he did. Good morning, Naruto-sama, said Kin huskily, as she continued to give Naruto his body treatment with her mouth on his stomach, and had her hand sneak underneath him to grab his ass. Are you sure you want to do what we think you are about to do? Said Naruto, as he felt venom retreat back into his skin, and revealed his boxers to Kin much to the young girl's delight. Yes, Naruto-sama. You heard what the Uchiha said, and I may never have the time during the month you train for the finals to truly express how much I'm thankful that you saved me from Orochimaru. I may be your slave, but I'm giving you my body, and the pleasure it holds to you willingly, said Kin, as moved down lower with her hands removing his boxers, and looked at Naruto's hard cock. From what Kin could deduce was because it was that time in the morning. Should we stop her? Thought Naruto to Venom, who looked at him in his mind before hitting the boy in the back of the head, and secretly increased the boy's pheromone output on his body. She wants to do this, Naruto. Let her first time be of her own choice rather than being forced to, like most slaves are, said Venom, as he had read through the information in Naruto's head about Konoha's history, and the issue with slaves being a touchy subject for some of the clans in Konoha due to the Hyuga's caged bird seal, along with the once great Uchiha clan being questionable in their methods of having slaves. I was right when I felt him being well endowed. If I wasn't about to do this part first, he would have split me in half, and if I want more of this in the future I better get him ready for it, thought Kin, as she had to admit seeing a cock for the first time outside of her sex education class was something to behold. From what Kin could guess, as she ran her hands up his erection, which caused him to moan further, Naruto was probably 6 going on 7 inches, and she remembered that his previous clothing was baggy along the legs. To her that meant even before Venom did whatever it did to Naruto, the Uzumaki was already endowed, and thanks to the increase in height overall in the body, so was this thing in her hands. She moved her lips down upon Naruto's erection, tasting him with her tongue on the tip, and she felt him make a quick gasp of breath at the pleasure that gave him. After a few more licks around the tip of the head of Naruto's cock, Kin continued her lips service down to the base of his large member, and began caressing his ball sack while she had her tongue run all the way back up to the top again. She's really good at this, thought Naruto, and he wondered how this girl became such a quick learner of this. That would be because of me, said Venom, as Naruto looked at him within his mind, and the symbiotic organism explained how it was able to teach Kin in her sleep since she was holding on to him when he was sleeping. It wasn't really hard for Venom to do it, as all it had to do was enter through the seal on Kin's lower body, travel up the spine, enter the brain, and let the downloading of sexual knowledge begin. Naruto would have thought of something in his head to say to Venom, but he couldn't at the moment, as Kin had swirled her tongue over his cock's head, and then put it in her mouth, bobbing her head. Naruto let out a gasp of pleasure, calling out Kin's name, as she sent wave after wave of pleasure through his body, and he was unknowingly had a hand on her hair. He ran his hands through it, as he loved the feel of it, and felt how it was soft like silk in his hands. Kin-chan, I'm going to, come, said Naruto, as he couldn't hold out any longer, and came right in Kin's mouth. Kin of course heard Naruto's warning, as well as his cry of pleasure before receiving his seed into her mouth, and she had to admit that was a pretty good taste. Not too salty like some of the older women in sound described it when they had to do it on missions to get close to an enemy that only thought with his loins. It had a sweet taste to it that by far overpowered the salty part, as she tried to get everything she could, and stood up a little straighter in her position to focus on her master's cock. When he finished, Kin moved her mouth out slowly to let her tongue continue its work all the way up to the tip, and let go of it with a single, hop, noise before licking her lip to get what was on the side. Holy crap, that was incredible beyond words, Kin-chan, said Naruto, as he panted from Kin's oral services, and looked at his slave to see her remove her bra along with panties that had now become soaked, being turned on by doing the blowjob. Thank you, Naruto-sama. Now, I wish to be one with you truly, as your slave, and your lover all in one, said Kin, as she saw his cock was keeping his rigidness, and felt that her calculations were indeed correct about him with having incredible stamina. Naruto looked into Kin's eyes, as he saw she meant every word of it, and decided not to press further into the matter if this was what she wanted, since it was quite clear that she did. So without hesitation, Naruto grabbed Kin's hips, as she moved herself above his erection to support her, and waited until he saw she was ready for this. She simply nodded before descending slowly down upon Naruto, with young shinobi keeping Kin steady, and after a brief pause at her barrier she dropped down fully on his shaft. Kin let out a silent scream, as she forced herself to keep the sound that wanted to leave her mouth at bay, and grabbed Naruto's shoulders for support. Naruto himself was telling her it was all right and caressed her back in a loving manner that Kin took without question. Do you wish to proceed? Said Naruto, seeing Kin starting to come down from the pain of having her virginity taken. Yes, Naruto-sama, said Kin, as she leaned down to kiss him, and began moving her hips to his while finding that it was replacing the pain along with the echo of it with incredible pleasure. Seeing Kin was now feeling better, Naruto thrust up, and made his slave let out a gasp of pleasure at his actions. In return, Kin was returning the thrusts with her own, and moved like a cowgirl riding a horse while Naruto was lying back down while grabbing onto her breasts. Kin could only scream in pleasure at the feeling of Naruto's cock inside of her pussy, as she rode her master wildly, and loved how he would hit all the right spots when it came to thrusting up at just the right moment. We're going to come, Kin-chan. You need to pull out before we come, said Naruto, as he felt like he was going to explode inside of the girl, who didn't seem to care, and kept on going with her eyes glazing over while she called out his name. Without even caring, Kin landed hard on Naruto's cock, and was sent into orgasmic bliss while causing Naruto to go into his own that sent his seed right into her womanly folds. After the moment, which seemed to last forever, had ended, Kin had found that she had collapsed on top of her master, and they were both sweaty from result of their sexual encounter. That was incredible, Naruto-sama, said Kin, as she had been drained from their first time among what she hoped to be many, and held onto Naruto tighter in their embrace. We came in you though. We tried to tell you, but you seem to be enjoying yourself quite a bit, and we couldn't stop it from happening, said Naruto, as he put his hands on her back, and gently running his fingers down it. It's all right, Naruto-sama. Enko visited me during the preliminaries and gave me some birth control pills to take should we be intimate now rather than later, said Kin, as she had taken one the night before, and was confident she wouldn't get pregnant at such an early age in her life. That's good. Don't get us wrong, the thought of us being father does sound appealing, but even we are too young for that right now, and would prefer to wait in having them some several years into the future, said Naruto, seeing the girl on top of him humming in agreement while she began to slowly rise off of her lover's upper body. Still, it was an incredible experience to have for my first time, Naruto-sama, and I look forward to more of these moments in the future too, said Kin, as she saw the clock, and realized that the early morning had become late into the morning. We look forward to it, Kin-chan. Now let's get our little love session cleaned up so we can take a shower together, said Naruto, as he emphasized the last word, and got Kin's full attention. It was a good thing that Anko had given Kin several months' worth, since she was going to have to use them. Konoha Shopping District 2 hours later. Kin slightly limped around looking at the clothing stores with Naruto by her side, as she was still feeling the effects of their cleaning session from earlier, and looked at her master with a smile on her face. Naruto himself had made several shadow clones of himself to take care of the clothing bags that were filled with various clothes meant for her so he could walk beside Kin. You didn't have to do this for me, Naruto-sama. You bought so many clothes just for me when you could have gotten some yourself, said Kin, as the bags were nearly all for her, except a few items that Naruto bought for himself, but the vast majority was for her, and he was only successful in buying such clothing after hanging into some random person so the store owners wouldn't kick him out or overcharge him for what he purchased. Nonsense, Kin-chan. We can't have you walking around Konoha or my apartment for that matter wearing the same type of clothing day after day, or in possibly nothing at all, said Naruto, looking at Kin with a smirk that made the girl blush, since it was clear that the latter wasn't a bad sight to see for him. After we drop my clothes off at your apartment, are you going to go train for the exam finals and your fight with Hyuga Neji? Said Kin, as she knew that Naruto was going to get Neji back for what he did to his cousin. Yes, we need to train, but we will not go anywhere near Hatake Kakashi for aid, and instead we'll go see the Hokage for help, said Naruto, as he knew the Hokage would help him in some way with his training and steer him in the right direction. Then I won't keep you from it. I was thinking of visiting Hinata-san in the hospital to help give her comfort, but I would like your permission first, Naruto-sama, said Kin, as she knew her liberties were limited to the whims of Naruto's commands to her, and while he would give her more freedom than most slaves could imagine, she did not wish to test the limits of the invisible leash on her neck. You can, since Hinata-chan will most likely be resting and not be awake at the moment since the damage to her body will be extensive, said Naruto, as his eyes narrowed at the memory of Neji being proud of what he did to Hinata, and it was making his blood boil. Even now, Venom was suggesting they hunt the asshole down, and possibly tear off a limb or two to make the boy feel some of Hinata's pain. You want to tell her about me being your slave when she wakes up, said Kin, as she knew that Hinata, from what she had learned of the girl, already had a deep-seated crush for her master, and the thought of losing him would destroy the Hyuga girl's gentle heart. That, and we thought we could ask Hinata-chan on a date when this business with the exam finals is over, said Naruto, as he smiled at Kin, who nodded in understanding, and walked with him to the ramen stand to get something to eat. Hokage's office. You did what exactly, Kakashi? Said the Hokage, as he narrowed his eyes at the Junin, who squirmed a little under the Hokage's gaze, and rubbed the back of head in a bit of a sheepish manner. I threatened Naruto with the chance of him losing his spot in the finals if he didn't give Tsuchikin to Sasuke to restore the Uchiha clan. Hokage-sama, said Kakashi, as he had come here in the hopes of the Hokage seeing things from his point of view, and instead found himself in a great deal of trouble. I see, and what give you the authority to tell Naruto something that is not true? Said the Hokage, looking at the Junin with increased anger in his eyes. Well, you see, Hokage-sama, I thought that since Sasuke took an interest in Naruto's slave that Naruto would relinquish his right to her, and give her to Sasuke to help his clan, said Kakashi, as he saw the Hokage not looking very pleased with him about this, and the Junin had to remind himself that while the Hokage was old, he could still kick the younger man's ass 6 days from Sunday. You thought wrong, Kakashi. Naruto earned his right to be in the finals fairly, and I will not have you try to worm Sasuke in there with empty threats. I also don't want anyone knowing that Naruto even has a slave, and the fact that Uchiha Sasuke will gladly spill the truth knowing the councils will protect him while it puts Naruto in danger is not a good start. I have turned a blind eye to your favoritism for too long, as even now you would train the last Uchiha, who is not even in the finals, then spend even a single minute with Naruto, and teach him anything at all, said the Sandame, who saw the son of the White Fang look away at that, and the words that Naruto said to him echoed in his mind. Even if I did teach him something, Hokage-sama, the boy won't let me anymore, as he has denounced me as his sensei, and feels like I am a threat to him, said Kakashi, who saw the Hokage's eyes soften a little, but harden right away, and looked on at the Junin with his piercing gaze again. "Are you a threat to him, Kakashi? Would you kill Naruto if the councils ordered you to while I said ordered you not to?" said Sarutobi, as he saw the Junin's shocked look, and the question catching him off guard. Hokage-sama, what kind of question is that? Said Kakashi, as the gaze from the Hokage increased, and was spiked with killer intent. Yes or no, Kakashi, are you a threat to Naruto in any way, shape or form? Said Sarutobi, as he wanted an answer right now, and by Kami he was going to get it. No, but the fact remains is that Naruto would sooner slit my throat, than let me be his sensei for much longer, and while I'm confident I could take Naruto down it would prove to be troublesome, said Kakashi, as he was sure that what was simply rumored to have happened after the actions of Hyuga Neji hurting his cousin, and Naruto going through a small team of Junins to reach the Hyuga branch member was clearly exaggerated. Don't worry about it, focus on training Sakura and Sasuke at the moment since it's clear they need more training from you now than Naruto does. Besides, if I know the boy, he will come here to me, and will wish me to find a replacement sensei. Anyone I know, said Kakashi, as Kurenai is concerned with Hinata. Kiba was tucked away while under supervision from Ibiki for what was said during the prelims, and Shino was getting ready with the help of his clan. My old student Jiraiya will take over for the boy's development, said the Hokage with a smirk on his face at seeing the Junin's face looking at him in shock, and it was clear that the son of the White Fang was expecting that person to help Naruto train. Jiraiya, as in Jiraiya of the Sannin. How, why, said Kakashi, as he got up from his seat, and nearly jumped over the old man's desk with his one eye seeking an answer. First, it's not your concern anymore, Kakashi, and second, Orochimaru tampered with Naruto's seal during the Forest of Death part of the exam. I need Jiraiya to examine it in order to let the seal work naturally, said Sarutobi, as he saw the Junin's face take on an even greater surprise, and nodded despite this since he couldn't question the Hokage's actions. And maybe lock away the thing that makes Naruto what he is now, thought Kakashi, as he felt Naruto was getting more powerful with each passing day, and it didn't sit well with the Junin one bit. Naruto was starting to look like his old sensei, and the past was something Kakashi had wanted to keep buried. Leave Naruto alone, Kakashi. If you don't, I will remove you as Team 7 sensei, demote you down to Genin, and find another Junin with a more level head, said the Hokage, seeing the man before him nod his head and decided to leave the situation alone like the old man said. For now anyway. Hot Springs 2 hours later. Naruto web-lined into the hot springs, as he didn't feel like paying any more people today after spending so much on kin, and while he didn't mind it in the least, his wallet was now crying a little at being lightened a third of its original weight. He had walked with kin to the hospital since he had to make sure everything was all right with Hinata and was pleased to see that everything was okay with the Hyuga heiress. Her injuries had been severe, but the doctors had been confident that Hinata would recover if just in time for the finals. After taking Kin home with the packages carried by the clones, Naruto headed to the Hokage's office and told him about what happened with Kakashi. It was an enlightening experience to be sure, which caused Naruto to need time to think, and there was no better place for him than the hot springs where the Hokage told him his sensei would possibly be. Naruto knew the name, of course, thanks to the history lesson that Iruka taught that most kids drowned themselves into temporary coma from the way the Chunin taught it, and made the man create the evil teacher head jutsu. So now here Naruto was seeing the hot springs area, in the male section, which was now currently empty, and it was something that Naruto was grateful for since the last thing he really needed was some asshole villager trying to attack him while in one of his rare few secret sanctuaries in life. Naruto was going to land inside the male section of the hot spring when the sound of a perverted giggle had caught his attention, and the source of it was a man, who from the description by the Hokage was Jiraiya, and he was peeping through a hole in the wall. Smiling evilly under his black mask, Naruto moved to a nearby tree, and did a quick look at who was on the other side, making him smile wider. And not because the other side was filled with hot water-covered women, though that in itself was pretty big bonus. He saw Anko, 2 female Chunins on break, and Inuzuka Hana currently relaxing after working on several unruly animals. Silently webbing the pervert's feet, Naruto descended himself upside down, and waited a few seconds before speaking really loudly. "Hello, pervert," yelled Naruto before pulling up quickly while the man with long white hair and strange clothing leapt into the wall while being held by the webbing that caused him to fall back while the wall that divided the hot springs came down where the man hit it. In short, the man was very much screwed, as the various women in the hot springs had surrounded him, and looking like they were going to make him suffer, slowly. "Oh crap, thought Jiraiya right before he was attacked by the various women around him and was viciously beaten up by the opposite sex. When the beating ended, the women went back to their side of the hot springs, boarded up the knocked-down wooden wall, peephole too, and went back to relaxing in their section of the hot springs from kicking the crap out of the pervert. When the coast was clear, Naruto descended down again on the barely moving pervert, and laughed at the poor man's misfortunate situation. The said man scowled at the person and would have knocked the Gaki around had it not been for his bruised body with ego attached to it. "You know, we think you could get an actual date if you stopped acting like a pervert, and more like a person, old man," said Naruto, as he realigned himself to the upright position, and landed on his 2 feet while the pervert barely got up on his own. "Yeah, well, I bet you wouldn't last 2 seconds over on the other side with all those women that are trained to kill a man in the most painful ways possible, and live to tell about it," said Jiraiya, as he had gotten out of a few scrapes himself, and had become stronger for it. Richer too after putting it in his books. "The only reason those women didn't castrate you is because you don't have anything down there to cut arrow senin," said Naruto, clearly unimpressed, as he web-lined up to a nearby tree to get ready to leave, and ignored the angry look on Jiraiya's face. "You have a lot of nerve talking to me like that, Gaki, since it's clear you know who I am despite the fact that I am really a super pervert," said Jiraiya with pride, only to feel a massive amount of killer intent from behind him and the very loud bang from the wooden wall divider falling down, with the women that beat him up earlier looking even more pissed off than before. "And then we hid," thought Naruto, as he had kept to the shadows when Jiraiya yelled the last part, and watched how the women beat the Sannin to a bloody pulp again. "Stay away from here, super pervert, or next time we will cut off the things that make you a male," said Anko before she along with the rest of the women walked away, but not before the snake mistress turned to where Naruto was, and gave him a wink along with a "call me sometime" hand motion. Surprised, but not one to turn away something like that, Naruto gave Anko 2 thumbs up, with one for the beating Jiraiya got, and one for Anko's sexy figure barely hidden by that towel. Anko smiled, as she knew that while Naruto had seen her barely clothed form, which was what women considered to be perverted, it was something that she could let slide for his help in stopping the super pervert that she helped beat the stuffing out of from peeping on her. Besides, if she asked him out in a few years, maybe Anko could get in a date, and some hot meal out of it. "You should have web-lined to her, taken her away to someplace remote, and screwed her brains out," said Venom, as it liked what it saw when it came to the female populace in Konoha, and was glad to be free at such a time when exotic women roamed the earth. "Shut up, I need to focus on arrow senin right now for training in the next month against Hyuga Neji," thought Naruto, as he shot a web line at Jiraiya, and pulled him under his arm before swinging off to someplace where the two could talk. "You're right. Besides, we both know that Kin will want to be the one that wants that honor, and considering what she did for you this morning, well, I wouldn't say no," said Venom, laughing at Naruto's facial expression and the increase in heat on the boy's face. Who knew a symbiotic organism could be such a pervert, thought Naruto to himself, as he made his way to a quiet place near a riverbank, and dumped the super pervert on the ground. "No respect from anyone these days for my profession," said Jiraiya, as he got up off the ground, and dusted himself off while looking at the figure before him that ruined his ever so good-looking research. "Considering your profession, we believe you are still a virgin, and just can't get laid out of fear of commitment," said Naruto, as he removed his black mask to reveal his face, and Jiraiya had to bite his tongue to hold back the response to that insult. "Minato," said Jiraiya, as he saw what seemed to be an image of a young Yondaime, and it nearly scared the crap out of him. "Did he just say what I think he just did?" thought Naruto to Venom, who mentally gave the boy a nod, as Naruto's memory immediately went to the history lesson of the 4 previous Hokages, with only one man named Minato in the whole village with a picture that looked like an older version of Naruto himself, and understood what his vessel had figured out from Jiraiya's single word. Uzumaki Naruto was the son of the Yondaime. "Maybe I'm getting old," said Jiraiya, as he snapped out of his thoughts, and looked at Naruto one more time before realizing who was standing in front of him. "Or maybe you are looking at the Yondaime's son," said Naruto, as he narrowed his eyes at the Sannin, who narrowed his back, and the man behind the pervert appeared. "That's a bold claim to make, Gaki, but anyone can easily look like him if they try to take enough time, and the sheer effort to do it," said Jiraiya, as he saw the boy scowl at him, and the Sannin realized this kid wasn't playing around. "Then a simple blood test will do. We are sure that the hospital staff has a DNA record of our father's blood, and if you compare it to ours you will find it matches," said Naruto, as he saw the Sannin tense a little, and the boy knew he had the man. "When in doubt, paternity tests always put someone in their place." "You're that confident, huh?" said Jiraiya, as he saw the scowl increase tenfold, and now the boy really looked like Minato when angry. The last time that happened was when Jiraiya was caught by his blonde student while he was unknowingly peeping on Kushina, and had to beg for his life in not letting said soon-to-be Hokage tell his wife, knowing she wouldn't let him leave with his manhood intact. "We could take you back to those women in the hot spring to finish you off if you deny it further," said Naruto, as he saw the Sannin pale at that since he had already taken 2 big beatings today and didn't think he could handle another. "All right, I give. I'm not going to argue with you since you've known for some time," said Jiraiya, letting out a sigh, and wondered how the old man that was his sensei failed to keep a lid on things. "Actually, we only learned it when you spoke our father's name," said Naruto, seeing the Sannin face fault and looked back up at him angrily. "What? How could you trick me like that? I am Jiraiya of the Sannin. I cannot be tricked," yelled Jiraiya, who was nearly in Naruto's face with an angry red face that if a bull saw right now would charge at and wish to destroy. "Not tricked, maybe. Easily intimidated when it comes to being threatened to be beaten up by women." "That's a yes," said Naruto, seeing the Sannin face fall again and had tears running down his face. "Like I thought before, no respect for someone of my profession," thought Jiraiya before getting off the ground, and looked at Naruto seriously while wondering what else the boy knew. "So how has Konoha been treating you since you had Kyuubi sealed inside of you?" said Jiraiya, as he had been ignoring his godson for some time now, and felt guilty about it since the Sandaime had been sending him letters for years now to come back to watch over Naruto. "Like how women treat you when they find out you've been peeping on them. They beat the crap out of us on our birthday, overcharged us for things in stores, and tried to hinder our chances at being a successful shinobi during our time at the academy. How the hell do you think they treated us?" said Naruto, seeing the Sannin flinch at that since it was his fault the boy was being treated so poorly when he left. "Ouch," thought Jiraiya, as he saw the shadow of Minato behind the boy with the same exact face, and the Sannin had a feeling that when he died his student was going to hurt him a whole lot more than Tsunade ever did. "So here is how we see it. You owe us big time for your neglect, and before you think that you don't owe us anything, we are well aware of your relationship to our father. From what we were told, you were supposed to be our godfather, but you took off, and decided that you could drown your sorrows in being the super pervert that you are so proud of announcing to the world," said Naruto, as his form became the demonic-looking venom form that made everyone terrified of him, and Jiraiya at the moment was no exception to that fact. Okay, I get it. Look, I know I should have been there for you, and I am sorry for not protecting you like my guardianship duties entailed. But I'm not the only one guilty here. My former teammate Senju Tsunade was, or rather is, your godmother, and was the one that helped deliver you into this world. Do you know how much begging it took for us to get that stubborn woman back to Konoha? She's worse than I am because she left 2 days after I did. Tsunade stayed only because she had to help the hospital prepare the means to end your mother's life painlessly after losing so much blood, bringing you into the world that she would have died eventually. It could have been avoided had the blood-fearing Senju come back like our sensei ordered her to at the give date, but Tsunade had to let her past in losing all of her family dictate her life, and only after I had squared away some debts that she owed to a few angry people for her out of my wallet did she return. Tsunade wasn't alone when she left either, as her boyfriend's niece Shizune was with her too when she left, so they were more than qualified to take care of you and raise you like family, said Jiraiya, as he was not going to let this whole situation be blamed on him, and intended to divide the blame fairly to each person that was at fault. Still, you could have come back to check up on us and see if everything was okay, said Naruto, as he saw the guilty look in the Sannin's eyes again, and knew he had struck a nerve. Damn kid, when you want to lay on the guilt trip you know where to put it, and just like your parents you know how to make it sting when it hits the fan. Look, from what the old man's last message was a few days ago, you have to face Hyuga Neji in the finals, and you've also had a seal placed over your seal by Orochimaru, right? Let me see it, said Jiraiya, as he had gotten the old man's last message stating everything, and to see the boy during the month needed to prepare for the finals. Of course, Jiraiya's original plan was to help the kid out at the ending half of the last 2 weeks of this month, but now things had changed, and considering the facts laid before him by his new student, he owed quite heavy debt no amount of money from his books could pay. Without so much as a word, the Sannin saw the symbiotic organism that made up Naruto's clothing disappear from the waist up, and Jiraiya couldn't stop the whistle that escaped his lips at seeing how muscled the Uzusari Namikaze looked. If this boy was lean, athletic, and basically a fangirl's secret wet dream now, in a few years he will drive older, hotter women to him in no time. Jiraiya's almost turned perverted thoughts left him the instant he saw the seal and the very crude work done by Orochimaru with the 5-pronged seal. Of course, the one thing the snake Sannin was never good at was seals, and any he created were too crude to be useful for very long. Cracking his hands, Jiraiya released the crude thing from Naruto's stomach, and then gave the original seal done by the Yondaime a once-over to check if everything was okay. The instant the 5-prong seal was removed, Naruto felt a weight lift off of him that he didn't know was there, and suspected Venom had a hand in that since the symbiotic being didn't want its vessel feeling like the Walking Dead. If anything, Naruto felt he had even more energy in his body, and it was almost overwhelming to feel this sudden boost that he had been neglected of the past few days. Kin was going to be so happy and later be sore after she learned the news. If you are done this feeling of incredible power thing, I suggest you milk this super pervert of all the knowledge he currently possesses in his brain, and then make sure the Sandaime gives you what is rightfully yours, said Kyuubi, as he felt the seal that had contained him doing its job, and letting his demonic chakra was transferred into the boy. Kyuubi, said Naruto, suddenly making Jiraiya jump behind a nearby log only to find that boy was currently having a conversation with the demon fox. No, it's the Shinigami come for your soul. Of course it's me, you baka. Listen, I have been stuck in this thing you called a body for over 12 years now, and it's only because of venom that I have even decided to help you. I am the strongest of the 9 demons of the elemental countries, and I deserve to be feared as well as respected for what I am. Unfortunately, I can't be feared because of my imprisonment, which happened in no small part due to your father, and I have to rely on my vessel being respected. Again, it is something that has not happened up until now, and the fact that you have actually been getting some decent female action recently is another reason why I am helping you. Along with Jiraiya's training, I too will be helping you in learning the demonic arts that I know, and will help you in adjusting to the intake of my demonic power, said Kyuubi, as he didn't want his vessel to be taken down by those outside of Konoha, and be able to hold his own against those inside of it too. Okay, I get it, the old, you scratch my back I scratch yours, kind of deal. I accept on the grounds that you keep to your end of the deal, and I will mind since I'm aware of the fact that if I die so do you, while Venom has a chance of a temporary host when that happens, thought Naruto, as did the mental handshake with Kyuubi, which was weird since the hand wasn't a hand, and touching the tip of a demonic claw was strange to say the least. Hey, Naruto, Earth to Naruto, this is ground control Jiraiya, can you hear me in there? Said Jiraiya, waving his hand in front of the kid's face only to have it stopped by Naruto, who didn't look amused, and had his clothing come back to him. We just had a conversation with Kyuubi and he will be assisting us in getting stronger when you are not. Also, we need to go see the Sandaime so you are put up to speed in regards to the invasion Orochimaru is preparing during the day of the finals, said Naruto, turning into his humanized venom form, grabbed Jiraiya by the waist, and shot a web line to a nearby tree before swinging off towards the Hokage Tower. Just so we're clear, I like you as a friend and student, said Jiraiya, as he would have very much preferred if it was a woman doing this, and it was a woman with large breasts. Get your mind out of the gutter, Ero Sennin. We've already surpassed you in getting with someone of the female of the human species, so keep your secret fantasies to yourself at the moment, said Naruto, making Jiraiya protest at the slanderous scandalizing words, but stopped when Naruto shot him a glare, and the Sannin knew that the boy could drop him from the air onto the hot springs female section again. That would result in another big beating by the opposite sex. Just like his parents. No respect for their elders, thought Jiraiya, as he wished he could have done more with Minato to gain it, and let out a sigh of defeat because he didn't. Namikaze Estate 2 weeks later. Naruto was in the training grounds outback sparring with Jiraiya, as he was making sure that every second the Sannin spent leading up to the Chunin exam finals was with him. The only time the Sannin got a break was either eating or sleeping, with no room for any of his research, that Naruto made sure was never aimed at Kin since the Namikaze was fully against that. The Sannin taught Naruto several jutsus in his arsenal, including the Rasengan, which Jiraiya told Naruto was incomplete due to lacking an elemental affinity, and suggested to the young Namikaze that he finish what his father started. In the beginning of the 2 weeks that left, Naruto had gotten the truth out of the Sandaime, who had once more begged for Naruto's forgiveness in letting things get out of hand, and the now renamed Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto was given full access to his family's house. Naruto had accepted the old man's apology on the condition that should he survive, the Hokage was to clean up this mess with the councils and prepare for a successor to take over. After getting Kin, who loved the idea of being in a bigger place with her master, as it gave them new rooms to try out, Naruto immediately began his training, and made sure Jiraiya was kept busy all the way through now. Of course, the Sannin was afforded a brief research break when Naruto decided to go visit Hinata in the hospital, and got her some freshly picked flowers from his family garden. You are going to see Hinata-sama again, said Kin, as she saw Naruto getting ready to go, and knew that today was important for him. Yep, Hinata-chan will be getting out by the end of next week before the finals, but we have been making plans to accelerate her recovery, and possibly understand why Neji wanted to kill her, said Naruto, as he had a feeling the key to victory over Neji lied within his cousin. Are you going to tell Hinata-sama about Kyuubi, Venom, and/or about us? Said Kin, as she knew that Hinata would want a few answers to such questions, and the Namikaze's current slave was unsure if such questions would be asked if not answered. Only about Kyuubi and Venom. After the impending invasion, we will tell her about you, and the circumstances behind it, said Naruto, as he had not lied when he said he would tell Hinata about Kin, and the other things in his life that centered around him. What if she asks? I know she's shy, but Hinata-sama seems to gather her courage from you, and may find the strength to ask, said Kin, as she had seen the girl during the first part of the exam sitting up straighter when the two were so close, and from how Naruto had described the fighting could hold her own against her mean cousin. We don't expect Hinata-chan to ask us that, but if she does, then we cannot lie, and only it will be at that point we will tell her, said Naruto, seeing Kin nod in understanding, as her master always had a plan, and was ready for anything. If Hinata-sama does find out, could we possibly have her over? I would like to have a fellow female friend and she seems to be very nice, said Kin, as she knew that the rules of the slave was to have very little in terms of an identity, but her master had let her keep it, and she did want to have someone of the same gender to talk to. Of course, Hinata-chan is one of the nicest girls around and it would be good for you to have a few friends here in Konoha, said Naruto before going into his venom form and shot out a web line to beginning swinging to the hospital. So the Gaki is going to see the Hyuga heiress, huh? Either you're getting new friend or you might soon be introduced to your master's future wife, said Jiraiya, as he smiled at that since Hyuga women were rumored to be real screamers in bed, and it was even better when it came to the shy ones. Pervert, said Kin before she kicked the Sannin right in between the legs, as Naruto had given her permission to hurt the Sannin should he say anything perverted around her, him, or while he was in the Namikaze clan home. Something Kin could get a real kick out of and something Jiraiya hated right now with a passion. Curse women and their strong leg muscles that were designed for this, thought Jiraiya, as he squirmed under the constant stomping power of Kin's right leg pounding away at him, and scolding the toad Sannin about acting like that in her master's house. Konoha Hospital, Hinata's room. Hinata sat in her hospital bed sighing at the news she would be let out of here after one more week just before the Chunin exam finals, and she wished she was training right now for them. Very few people came to see her, as her teammate Shino, her sensei, and Team 10 came with Ino giving her flowers. She had heard what happened after she left between her cousin Neji and Naruto, which made her gasp in horror at what Naruto said. Naruto was a kind person like her when it came to other and only fought when there was no other choice. Her father came in to see her once, but Hinata assumed it was during her time when she was out of it recovering, and that was to see his failure of a daughter in such a defeated state. I wish Naruto-kun was here. He could cheer me up without even trying, thought Hinata, as she knew that Naruto would make a joke, make fun of someone, and do something funny to make her laugh. You seem troubled, Hinata-chan. Care for some help, said Naruto on the windowsill of her room, making the girl nearly jump out of her bed, but refrained from doing so since she was only in a hospital gown, and didn't want to reveal too much to Naruto. At least not yet anyway. N Naruto-kun, US surprised me, B but I am G glad why you are H here, as I was very C concerned about you, and why your M match with N Neji ni Sanai in the F finals, said Hinata, as she gave herself a mental berating about stuttering in front of her crush, and wished she could stop the verbal problem. Do not fear for us, Hinata-chan. We came to visit you and see to it that you get better by first giving you our offering of flowers to the prettiest lady in the room, said Naruto, as he saw Hinata's face turn beet red, and took the flowers from Naruto's hand while getting a chance to touch it to feel the tingling sensation that ran through her in the process. He called me pretty, thought Hinata, as she looked from Naruto to the flowers, and she realized these were not from Ino's flower shop like she first suspected. Hinata-chan, in order for us to help you, we need to tell you a little about ourselves, as you may have realized we are not what you would call human, and wish for you to keep an open mind at what we are about to tell you, said Naruto, as he sat down in a chair that was near Hinata's bed, and looked at her with a serious expression on his face. Oh, of course, Naruto-kun, said Hinata, as she had always kept an open mind, and knew that the only way to understand him was to do just that. Smiling at this, Naruto proceeded to tell her about what happened in the Forest of Death in meeting the symbiotic organism named Venom, and how he had the Kyuubi sealed up in him by the Yondaime. He waited for her reaction, which was shock, horror, but none of the hate he was half expecting to arise, and then told her about how his father was in fact the Yondaime himself. This surprised Hinata even further, as she knew that because of Naruto's clan status now, her father couldn't deny the chance to date him since he had always been strict when it came to courting affairs, and told her to stay away from Naruto on account of him being commoner trash. Hinata knew better though, as she saw what her father did not, and knew that what her eyes saw in Naruto was that of noble blood, and someone her father could not stop in wanting to date her. So now you know about us, Hinata-chan, and what we need to do to your cousin in order for him to pay for hurting you, said Naruto, as he saw the girl look down with sad eyes, and it hurt him to see have that face. If only it had been me, who was branded with the seal, thought Hinata, as this whole situation was centered around the cage bird seal of her family, and she hated that thing. You don't want us to hurt him. We would like to know why, said Naruto, as he leaned closer to her, and Hinata blushed a little at her crush's close proximity to her. However, she knew this was important to Naruto, and for the next few hours explained in detail about the clan's inner workings with the main family and the branch family. How the branch family wore what was known as the cage bird seal, while the main family could cause pain to the branch family by activating the seal to keep them in line. How Neji's uncle had been sacrificed for the good of the clan rather than her own father, who was originally supposed to go after the incident with Kumo when she was 3 years old. It was unfair in Hinata's mind just as it was in Naruto's, despite the fact that Naruto had a slave with a seal on her lovely rear end. What she knows is only from her father's time with the seal. I was around when the seal was first created, and trust me, they used it a lot back then, and had a certain Shadaime not inferred with the help of the other clans. It could have gotten worse, said Kyuubi, as he had seen the founding of the village, and learned of the inner workings of the Hyuga clan since its founding. So that's why he wanted to kill you. To get some measure of revenge against you for what happened to his father. Stupid baka. Well, we will just have to make sure he sees the truth even if he can't see it with those all-seeing eyes of his, said Naruto, as Hinata looked at him with a smile on her face, and saw that while her crush was going to hurt Neji, it wouldn't be too horrible. She hoped so anyway. And Naruto-kun, can I ask you a question? Said Hinata, as she again told herself to stop stuttering, and be strong so she could impress him. Fire away, said Naruto, as he had an idea of where this was going, but resolved himself to sticking to his plan if she asked, and wasn't going to change it for anything. What is that girl with black hair to you? The one that referred to you as Naruto-sama, during the preliminaries. Said Hinata, who was surprised that she didn't stutter, and it was clear that Naruto was just as surprised too. It's complicated, Hinata-chan, but again it requires you to keep an open mind, and to not judge us for what happened because of our intervention during the Forest of Death, said Naruto, as he explained to Hinata the reason behind Kin calling him Naruto-sama, the impending invasion by Orochimaru, and how Kin becoming his slave was the only way to protect her. He left out the part where they would become intimate since that was something she did not need to know just yet. Well, at least Naruto-kun's protecting her, thought Hinata, as she was silently fuming at Kin, who Hinata believed would try to seduce her Naruto-kun, and get into his pants. If she only knew. One more thing, Hinata-chan. We want to help you with the healing process, but to do that we need to use some of the Kyuubi's chakra, and the best way for it to work is if we put our hand on your chest, said Naruto, seeing Hinata's face turn crimson. Steam was coming out of her ears, and blood was slowly leaving her nose from his choice of words. Naruto-kun, touching my chest, thought Hinata before she fainted from the notion, and Naruto shook his head at Hyuga girl's reaction since he wasn't actually going to have his hand on her chest, but rather close to it. If her sensei were here, she would kill us, slowly. Thought Naruto before he went to work while keeping his hand above her chest and channeled a trickle of demonic chakra from it down to her body. He waited a good 2 minutes before stopping, and Naruto had a part of venom cover her hand to do a check on his handiwork. Her injuries are now full healed and her organs are strengthened thanks to the fox's power being manipulated by us, said Venom, as it checked her body once over, and then gave the proverbial thumbs up on her condition. Good, now it's time for more training back home, thought Naruto, as he changed into his Venom form, and began web swinging back home. That and get some sweet slave pussy, said Kyuubi, as he laughed at Naruto, who had a blush on his face, but all the same couldn't deny that was one of the reasons for returning, and decided that he might as well accept what was happening with his life. Quiet you, thought Naruto, as he made his way home, and wondered if Kin had killed Jiraiya at this point for being perverted. Such was the day in the life of a demon vessel and host to a symbiotic organism. Ino had always been a curious girl growing up with a need to know just about everything around her, and while she was a bit bossy, her father claimed it came from her mother's side, she always felt it was for the best. Ino felt that if she didn't know anything, then what was the point of being smart, and flaunting the fact that she knew things around over others. Hence the reason why Ino was currently, in the middle of the night, looking up at the ever-so-large Namikaze estate with wide eyes, and then smiled deviously before searching for a means to enter the home. Granted, she didn't even know that it even was the Namikaze estate, but the fact remained that when she had learned of Naruto's new home, she went to see it for herself, and see just what she could dig up about Naruto. She had heard the rumors concerning Naruto having a female slave with him, as she had admittedly might have helped in that regard to the rumors, and had seen the said slave right before the Chunin preliminaries. From said rumors, more had gone through Konoha faster than her Akamichi teammate goes through barbecue food, and if there was one thing Ino liked to do besides spread rumors was to learn the truth hidden behind the rumors. That way she could easily make it seem like she was the one that knew everything and be praised for it too. Finding her way in, Ino found the inside of the Namikaze home to be quite an interesting feel to it, and found that it a certain family feel to it. That in itself was slightly unusual to her, as she always felt that the bigger the clan, the less family connection one had to them since there were so many, and Ino thought of the Hyuga clan with their members being so serious when it came to such things. Granted, the Aburame clan didn't seem to have that family feel and they were smaller, but, well, she secretly believed that the bug users had some form of telepathy that linked them to each other. Pretty nice place for a guy who was an orphan since he was little kid, thought Ino, as she wondered how Naruto could even afford this home, much less have a slave, and only by doing a little digging could she get it. Making her way up the stairs, Ino peeked into most of them to see that they were in fact empty, meaning Naruto was here in the home all alone, and continued looking for the blonde that had changed completely in what seemed to be a few days. Looking around some more, Ino heard what sounded like voices in a single room, and wondered who it was that Naruto was within that one room. As she got closer, the voices weren't really two voices, but one high-pitched one that was female, and it was calling out Naruto's name repeatedly. At first, Ino thought something had happened to the blonde, and his slave was seeing if he was actually all right. Hurrying to the room, Ino soon learned that Naruto's slave wasn't calling out his name in a panic, but rather it sounded like pleasure. Opening the door slightly to see inside before she made her entrance if she absolutely had to, Ino's eyes widened in surprise, as she saw a naked Tsuchikin on a large bed letting out a scream out in sheer pleasure, and Naruto equally as naked with his head in between her legs eating her out. "That's it, Naruto-sama. That's the spot right there. Don't stop, Naruto-sama," said Kin, as her hips bucked, and Naruto kept them under control with his hands on her hips while his tongue assaulted his slave's pussy. "He can't do that. We're too young for that kind of thing," thought Ino, as she saw Kin gripping the bed sheets with one hand, and Naruto's blonde hair with the other. "Who is your master? Tell us who is your master right now, Kin-chan," said Naruto, as she assaulted her clit with his tongue, and channeled chakra into it to make the pleasure that was running through Kin's body skyrocket. "Naruto-sama, my master is and always will be Naruto-sama," said Kin, as she screamed out, and came hard into Naruto's face while he licked up her juices. "Yummy," said Naruto, as he looked down at Kin's glowing body, and the ever-familiar look of satisfaction that was across his face. "No more, Naruto-sama, I'm too tired to continue," said Kin, as she had been taken every way possible tonight after Naruto came back from his training session with Jiraiya that involved him summoning toads, and it required her master be out in a large area. Though deep down, Kin felt ashamed she couldn't last as long as Naruto, and wished she had half the stamina he did if just to drain him for one night. She had been training like Naruto had told her to, since more stamina for her meant longer love-making for them and more pleasure to be had. "It's all right, Kin-chan, we won't try to pressure you into continuing when you've reached your limit, and you also have to remember that we have Kyuubi in me, so the stamina we would have normally that is Junin level is much higher than that with him," said Naruto, kissing Kin's forehead, which she moaned into along with his hands touching her body, and let out a sigh of pleasure when he started kissing her neck. It was unfortunately stopped, when the two heard a gasp, and a yelp that was followed by a thump noise from behind their door. Naruto gave Kin a quiet motion with his finger before turning into his humanized venom form and made his way to the door while Kin silently got on her robes to cover her form up. The last thing Kin wanted was for some pervert to try sneaking a peek in on her and Naruto going at it like rabbits. Once Naruto saw Kin was covered, He opened the door fully to find a dazed Yamanaka Ino having tripped on her own sandals, and hit the hard wood in the wall behind her just before hitting the hard wooden floor. When Ino looked up, she had a cheesy embarrassed look on her face, and it was then the platinum blonde knew she was in very deep shit. "Hi Naruto. Lovely night this is, isn't it?" said Ino, as she tried to figure out how she could get out of this situation, and wondered if maybe using her clan's mind jutsus would do the trick. "You are in really big trouble Ino. You're trespassing on clan grounds. Our clan grounds, and as such what we do to you on it is done at our discretion outside the jurisdiction of the Hokage, making the authority we have right now all the more powerful," said Naruto, narrowing his eyes at Ino and wondered just what exactly he should do with her. "Clan? You are in a clan," said Ino, as this was news to her, as her father seemed to be very hesitant about Naruto being the topic of the day, and her mother was very adamant about her little girl staying away from him. "The last of two actually. However, that is irrelevant to the situation right now, and what is relevant is the fact that you in our home interrupting our alone time with Kin-chan," said Naruto, as he saw Ino blush at that, and so was Kin with her red robes that hugged her form. "Alone time? You were having sex with her? We're too young for that. I could go tell the Hokage and he could charge you with rape," said Ino, as she had hoped that threat would help get her off the hook, and maybe a good bargaining chip down the road if she needed it for later. "Rape? Naruto-sama didn't rape me since I'm his slave, you dumb blonde." "Sorry Naruto-sama," said Kin, as she looked at Naruto, and looked embarrassed since Naruto was also a blonde too. "No apologies Kin-chan, we knew you were talking about Ino," said Naruto, seeing the worried look on Kin's face since insulting one's master could result in being punished by him or her. "Hey," said Ino, getting off the ground, as she looked at the two, and taking clear offense to what Kin said. "What about her Naruto-sama?" said Kin, as it was clear that Ino couldn't be let out of the estate since she would blab to everyone what she saw, and it would not be good for Naruto if they did. "We'll have to handle this through the Hokage. Knowing the old man, he's still arm deep in paperwork, and won't be happy that he's stuck doing it. You stay here with Ino until we get you, as we are going to get Ino's father so he can become informed of Ino has done, and we take our case before the old man," said Naruto, as he quickly tied Ino up with webbing around her ankles, her elbows, and each of her hands to prevent her from doing hand signs. "What the?" said Ino, as she wobbled, and then fell over onto her side while trying to struggle against the webbing Naruto had her tied up in. "Make sure Ino doesn't leave until we get back with her father so he sees what we tell him is the truth," said Naruto before he webs Ino's mouth to prevent any of her screams of protest since he liked his home noise-free, with the exception being certain things that the public shouldn't see. "As you wish Naruto-sama," said Kin, as she saw Naruto leaving through a window, and web swinging over to the Yamanaka clan home to speak to the blonde male responsible for siring Ino. "How did I get myself into this?" thought Ino, as she tried to struggle some more, but had found herself being moved onto her back by Kin, and saw the look of displeasure written on it. "You have a lot of nerve entering Naruto-sama's home. What's more is I know that you heard him talk about the Kyuubi sealed inside of him, which no doubt caused you to take a step back, trip, and fall to make us aware of you watching what we were doing. I may be Naruto-sama's slave, but even I have some right to protect myself, or punish those that try to see my body without my master's permission," said Kin, as she saw the blonde girl look up at her in shock, and wondered what to do with intruder. "I should have brought Sakura so at least this way, Naruto can be distracted by her, and her giant forehead while I could have made my escape," thought Ino, as she tried to move again only for Kin to put her foot on the captured girl's stomach that wasn't covered by webbing. "Don't move. When Naruto-sama gets back here with your father, we're going to see the Hokage, and you are going to explain just why you were in my master's home," said Kin with her foot pressing more on Ino's thin stomach, and the former sound shinobi realized this girl was just like the pink-haired one in the Forest of Death that was her master's teammate. Silently giving Ino a once-over, Kin saw this girl worried more about her figure than that of her shinobi skills when it was clear she was from a clan home, and that in itself was just sad in her mind. The girl was probably afraid of getting fat if she ate too much, or she wanted to impress some boy like that Uchiha if what Naruto had told her about the two fangirls was true. That was real shame actually in Kin's mind, as she knew that all Ino had to do was train hard, and she could easily burn whatever fat she stored up after eating whatever food she ate. "Ino," said Inoichi, as Ino's father appeared in a poof with Naruto, and the old Hokage with him to see the girl in her current situation. "As we told you Inoichi, your daughter is here, and not in her bed like her curfew would have her be," said Naruto, as he saw pleading look Ino was giving her father, and how she tried with immense failure thanks to Kin to squirm her way over to him. "I think we better take this to my office before things get out of hand," said the Hokage before the all went poof, and were now in the Hokage's office. Heck EHDKNDJKHDJSKHDHDHDH, said Ino, as she tried to speak behind the webbing with the entire group was hearing gibberish, and Naruto removed the webbing so the Yamanaka could speak clearly. "That's better," said Naruto throwing the webbing away knowing it would dissolve into nothing in a few hours. "Naruto Baka, when I get out of this stuff, I'm going to beat you up, and launch an all-out assault on your mind," said Ino, as she was feeling pretty confident right now with her father in the room, and how he could have the Hokage punish Naruto for tying her up like this. "Do you want to tell Ino, old man, or should we? Seeing how she already knows about the Kyuubi when Kin and we were together, we do not expect this to be too difficult, and that you do what needs to be done," said Naruto, as he looked at the Hokage, and saw him nod at this. "Ino-san, what you did violates several Konoha laws under the articles drafted during the days of the Shadaime, and the clan heads at the time coming to an agreement that was responsible for the clans to help create this village. These laws pertain to a clan member entering illegally into another clan's home, as you just did not too long ago, and the very punishments that exist to be carried out are in some cases worse than death," said the Sandaime, as he saw Ino now looking at him with wide eyes, and it was clear this was something she didn't know. "Can I elaborate for her, Hokage-sama? The day Iruka talked about this, my daughter was out sick, and missed the lecture despite the fact that she told me she learned from one of the other students at the academy," said Inoichi, seeing his daughter look away in shame at that since she was going to ask someone, but the problem was that Sakura was going to go stalk Sasuke at the time, and she wanted to go with her. So when Ino's father asked if she did get caught up and in reality she didn't, the only thing she could do was what all children do to avoid punishment. She lied. "Go ahead, Inoichi," said the Hokage sitting back in his chair while looking at all the paperwork he still had to go through and thought he could hear it all laughing at him. Maybe he needed to cut back on his smoking. "Ino, the rules behind the functioning of each of the clans in Konoha is a set of very strict laws that the clan heads of Konoha during the days of the Shadaime set up to ensure that each clan would pledge their loyalty to Konoha and to ensure the village would thrive. After many weeks turned months, the laws concerning the village clans had finally been finished after the clan heads with the Shadaime secured the final law that pertained to a clan's security. Each clan was granted a means of privacy, as well as rights that prevented the Hokage from interfering in their private clan rituals or the traditions they created for their clan. One such was the punishing of intruders that came from another clan should they be attempting to learn secrets that pertained to that clan. Like the Uchiha clan trying to learn about the Inuzuka clan's family jutsus in hopes of countering them with their Sharingan being an example. Such things are not tolerated in Konoha, and what you did, Ino, is a very serious offense that could warrant you to stop being a shinobi altogether or even your own death, said Inoichi, as he saw his daughter look at him with surprise, and then fear since she didn't want either to happen to her. "What, I don't want to stop being a shinobi or even die for that matter," said Ino, as she felt it was unfair that she didn't know that Naruto was part of a clan, and that only now when she did something supposedly wrong did she get punished for it. "Regardless, Ino, what you did was stupid, irresponsible, and at the moment has placed you at the mercy of one Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto," said Inoichi, as he had been told along with the other clan heads about this in secret away from the other councils, and was glad they didn't know since they would have ultimately used the boy for their own ends or just killed him. "Namikaze, like the Yondaime, wait, that means that Naruto is the, said Ino, as she looked at Naruto with his mask off, and after seeing the image of the Yondaime from her memory of it when she was younger to his, it hit her like punch from Sakura's fist. "The son of the Yondaime. You have entered illegally into the Namikaze clan home that Naruto currently occupies with his slave Tsuchikin," said the Inoichi, seeing his daughter looking down with sad, fear-consumed eyes, and Yamanaka clan head looked at the old Sarutobi for help. Sadly, the old Hokage could do nothing but shake his head, as the punishment that was to be delivered was ultimately up to Naruto, and Hiruzen didn't dare to even guess the thoughts of the young Namikaze. "So what happens to me now? I mean, what kind of punishment am I getting?" said Ino, as she looked from the Hokage to her father, who looked to Naruto, and the boy ran a hand through his blonde spiky hair. "Since Ino knows about the Kyuubi, we feel that while death is a possible punishment, it shouldn't be done since it would only incite a riot with the people of the village, and since she now knows another S-class secret, it would be best if she not become a civilian. However, because of what Ino did, we also feel she shouldn't be a shinobi anymore, and that there is only one option left for her to take at this point, said Naruto, seeing Ino's eyes now watering up at his words and realized how much she focused on keeping herself thin when she wasn't focusing on Sasuke. Are you sure? Please Naruto-sama, surely you could let us pay you some form of tribute. Money, justice that aren't clan-related, said Inoichi, as he knew what it was that Naruto was suggesting, and also knew his wife was going to kill him before going after Naruto. What is Naruto suggesting? Said Ino, as she looked from her father to Naruto, and the back to her father before she saw Kin smirking at her like she knew. That you become his second slave, Ino-san, said the Hokage, as he saw the girl's eyes widen in further horror, and then began crying her eyes at the thought of being someone's slave. What? No, I will not be his slave. Never, 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 yelled Ino at her highest volume possible, and the Hokage was once more grateful he put up the sound barrier to keep her voice from leaving the room. You have no choice, Ino. It's either this or you become a civilian with your mind erased, or the third option being death by public execution for breaking several S-class laws that the two councils won't be able to turn over, said Inoichi, as he saw his daughter look at him in shock once more, and then at the Hokage, seeing him nod his head in agreement. If you choose to become a civilian, your chakra will be sealed off, and your father will have to erase all your memories of you being a member of the Yamanaka clan before having you become a ward of the village. Thus you would be an orphan like Naruto was for most of his life, with a simple job somewhere in the village, and would not know any of your friends from the academy. They wouldn't be able to talk to you like they knew you, they would have to start all over again like you would, and would be forbidden from telling you of your past life, said the Hokage, seeing Ino taking in her options, since that was the price of not being a slave or being executed. And if I'm a slave, said Ino, as she needed to learn what that entailed, since she didn't want to lose her memories of her friends, and getting killed was out of the question for her. Like Kin, you wouldn't be a shinobi anymore per se, but that doesn't mean you can't train to get stronger to protect your news master, or his home for that matter if it's ever invaded. However, since you are not the first slave of Naruto's, you will have to follow an additional set of rules made should someone in a clan have more than one, and they are important to know, said the Hokage, as he saw Inoichi look at Naruto with pained eyes, and the Namikaze knew that the man was concerned for his daughter. Like what? Said Ino, as she looked at the Hokage, and knew he would know, being as old as he was. For instance, when Naruto is not around to give you orders, Kin will be, as she will be empowered by Naruto, and become his head concubine. Meaning that while Kin is still his slave, you are also her slave too in a sense, and when Naruto is out on missions the head concubine is in charge of the home, said the Hokage, as he looked at Naruto, who was processing all of this in his head, and wondered if the boy was getting things too fast. So I'm the slave's slave. But Naruto ultimately decides things, right? Said Ino, as she saw Naruto nod his head at her, and she realized he had been silent through most of this. Yes, we do not abuse others, Ino-chan. Surely what you saw tonight is proof enough of that, said Naruto, as he saw Ino's face turn red from the memory, and so did her father along with the Hokage, since they had been given the straight-to-point conversation when he first spoke to them about the Yamanaka girl's invasion of his home. Well, what do I have to lose? I mean, I can't have my memories erased, since I will lose the friendship I have with the others, and being publicly executed would bring shame to my family. Not that this hasn't already done so to my father, who looks ready to die from the fact he'll have to tell mom, and hope she doesn't die from a heart attack after killing him for not trying hard enough to this, thought Ino, as she closed her eyes, and focused on all her option while deciding on the lesser of three evils at this point. What is your decision, Ino? Said Inoichi, as he saw his little girl look at him again with calm, serious-looking eyes, and he knew she had made possibly the best choice of the three given. I'll be his slave. I'll be Naruto's slave, said Ino, as she looked at her father's face, and saw him nod in understanding with a small smile on his face that told her she had made the right call. Very well, since it's late, I'll let Ino go home with her father, and have him bring her to me tomorrow to begin the process, said the Hokage, as he saw Inoichi, and Ino nod at this, since this would be the last night the girl would sleep as free person did. After they left, it was just Naruto, Kin, and the Hokage in the room with a silence that lasted for what seemed like forever. Her mother isn't going to be happy with us, said Naruto, as he had met the woman once, and the look she gave him had spoken volumes in what she thought of him. Yes, and no doubt she'll try to see me about stopping this. Now if I could only get this damned paperwork done, said the Hokage, as he looked at the pile that would no doubt waiting for him tomorrow, and the pile that would be on top of it in the morning. Why not use shadow clones? Said Naruto, smirking at the Hokage, who looked at him like he had just found the secret to eternal life, and was giving it to old Fire Shadow. Of course, Minato, you brilliant asshole, that was your secret the whole time, yelled the Hokage, as he was finally free of the damned chains that had held him to this task, and made 2 shadow clones to get through the remaining paperwork before him. Just remember, you owe us again, old man, said Naruto before turning into his venom form, opened the window, and motioned for Kin to come to him so they could go home. Of course, name it, anything you want, I'll try to grant, and see it happen, said the old man, who was more than willing to help the boy since he just solved the most evil thing a Hokage can do outside of killing off an entire clan within the village, and having the said killer become a missing nin to infiltrate an evil organization bent on world domination. Naruto told him and took off with Kin web swinging home while Sarutobi left in a poof, with a grin on his face as he recalled Naruto's request. Don't tell anyone our last name is Namikaze until after we win against Neji. We want to see the look on the people's faces when they learn the truth. Chunin exam finals a few days later. The day was an exciting day for everyone in Konoha, as people were gearing up for the matches taking place in the stadium with bets being placed, and high-priced clients in their seats waiting for prospective shinobi showing off their skills. The rumors behind each match were also growing, as people thought Hyuga Neji would win given his title as a prodigy, and how he was from the noble Hyuga clan, making his chance of victory even higher against the academy dead last that was Uzumaki Naruto. That wasn't the only rumor, as it was also rumored that a secret marriage was set up between Aburame Shino and Subaku no Tamari, with the fight being a formality by both families to see if each child was worthy of the other. Kankuro had heard that particular rumor before, laughing at Temari's misfortune, only to have himself get hammered into the ground by his big sister, and her iron fan with a big emphasis on the iron part that she used to hit him with. Currently, all participants were in the arena to await the arrival of the Kazekage, who was not really the Kazekage at all, but rather Orochimaru in disguise, and only a few people knew of this, including the Hokage himself, but the old man knew not to tip the hand he had against his former student, and knew that in order for his trap to work, Orochimaru would have to spring his first, and when it happened the snake would find himself not the predator, but rather the prey. Where's Ino? She should be here, said Sakura, as she was sitting with her teammate that was her not-so-secret crush, and her sensei sitting behind her with his book in hand. The rookies that didn't make it to the finals all sat together with their senseis to cheer on their friends and hope that they were able to pass to qualify to being a Chunin. Ino's not here because Ino isn't a shinobi anymore, said Asuma, as he had been told the specifics by his old man, and couldn't believe Ino had done something so stupid like what she did a few days ago. She quit, said Sakura, as she knew that wasn't Ino at all, and wondered what happened to make her give up being a shinobi. No, it's complicated. Talk to Naruto after the finals and he'll tell you if he feels like it, said Asuma, as he lit his cig, and ran a hand through his short hair. An emergency meeting for the Rookie 9+ guy was called, and the Hokage had explained the situation to the group about what happened with Ino. Kurenai was a little peeved at this since she didn't want anything perverse to happen to Ino given how this village was filled with male perverts, and she was unsure of Naruto's intentions towards the Yamanaka girl. Asuma was stunned since his team had been effectively disabled and would need to find a possible replacement. Guy was stunned though. He went on about flames of youth and how he was sure that Naruto would treat Ino right if he already had one slave on his care that was happy. The other rookies looked at each other in surprise, then at each of their senseis, who all had nodded in full agreement since they knew, with the exception being Kakashi since he was late to the meeting, and missed out on a few key things about his only student in the exam finals. In the stadium grounds, Naruto eyed his opponent 2 genin down, and saw Neji looking back with a smirk on his face knowing it would upset the Namikaze. It succeeded, but Naruto wasn't going to let that get to him, as he knew that was what the Hyuga wanted, and kept a cool face even though Kyuubi was telling him to rip the Hyuga to pieces for what he did to Hinata. Speaking of Hinata, Naruto looked up towards the stands to see Hinata sitting in front of her sensei next to Kiba, having been freed by Ibiki after an extensive investigation, and he saw she was looking at him with hope, yet with worry all the same. She wanted him to win, but Hinata also didn't want Neji to be hurt to the point that her cousin would once more blame family for this, and take it out on her since she never used the cage bird seal on another member of her clan. Well, technically Hinata had used it once, but that was only because she was ordered to so she would know the hand sign for it, and after she had used it on the branch member that was her test subject she quickly apologized to him. Once the elder teaching her had left the room, of course, since had she done so sooner would have made the elder frown down upon her being. She wants you to be merciful to this arrogant whelp. My version of mercy would be to kill him now rather than leave him alive without his senses to guide him through life, said the Kyuubi, as he hated arrogant humans, and wished Kami had wiped out the entire species from the earth. I have an idea on what to do. Can I count on you to counter Neji's gentle fist strikes when he seals off my chakra points? Not that I won't need them thanks to Venom, but I'd